a show that we do twice a week where we talk about all the latest in pop culture news, TV and movie reviews, gaming news, and just the general conversations of the day. For those who don't know, for those who don't know me, I'm Price of Reason, and today we have a special VIP guest host here, which is Istophobos. He's going to be sitting in here today for the professor, who's something came up and couldn't make it back for the show tonight, but we'll see him soon. And here we are. How's it going, Ista?
Oh, it's going pretty well. Thanks for having me on. It's an honor to fill in for the professor. And, we have quite a bit of material for tonight. So,
Yep. And yeah, I mean, basically, people know you from this channel anyways because you are a friend of the channel. And you have like VIP status. And I don't know. I'm not saying that it's so good to be a VIP on this channel, but it's better than nothing, I guess.
no, I think people only know me from this channel, and that's absolutely fine. I know everybody else from here too. So,
well, that's good. Yeah. And I like the people that hang out with us, and already a lot of them are here now. And usually some more start showing up. So we'll start our stream. There's a lot going on. There's actually a lot to talk about. So for starters, we finally got this Punisher thing that came out today. The Punisher, it's called the Punisher One Last Kill. Now, there's been a lot of kind of talk about it for a while. It was like John Bernthal, he was going to make sure this thing doesn't disrespect the Punisher, and it's going to be some kind of movie thing. I heard movie, so foolishly, when I thought movie, I thought this thing is probably going to be like an hour and 40 minutes, 2 hours. That's kind of what I was hoping, because we're used to seeing this guy in a seasonal setting where there's like at least 10 episodes or 12 or 13 episodes or something a season. That's how we used to see him. I expected something at least like a double episode, at least like a feature film. You know what I'm saying? So it turns out that this thing wasn't wasn't actually a feature film, and it was only like 44 minutes without the credits or something. 43 or 44 minutes. Now that isn't very long. That isn't very long, and the only thing that maybe could happen is if they had such a tightly written story and they hit the ground running and they just immediately started it. And as much as I'd like to tell you that they really did that, that is actually not true.
okay, wait a second here. I need to ask you something pretty important because
Sure.
I did watch it. So this isn't episode 1 of a TV show? That was it?
No, this is it. This is the first and final episode of this thing.
You're kidding. You got to be messing. I got to look this up. There's no way.
I mean, look it
you're
up.
lying.
You know what? If it turns out that it's a series, I'll feel better about it. But if it's just, a movie, then I really am kind of baffled by it, to be honest.
Okay. Yeah, I would
It's a special presentation. Don't you remember that at the beginning it said special presentation?
Oh, I don't read the word. I don't look at the letters.
It said like special presentation, and then it started. This is a one-off. This is a one-off. They could have, instead of making Agatha all along and all this other shit. I can't even remember the stupid shows they have. Instead of doing all of those, they could have made a cool season of The Punisher. Instead of that, they wanted to spend all their money on Agatha all along. And then for The Punisher, they gave like a 43-minute special. Now, it's one thing if, again, there's like a tightly written story, there's something. But first of all, in 43 minutes, you couldn't do much anyways. And I feel like they just told them, listen, all you got is 43 minutes. Do whatever you want. And then they're like, and John Bernthal supposedly was able to give input. So he probably just said, like, fuck it, just let him kill a bunch of people. And, I'll tell you this. Watching Frank Castle kill a bunch of people for 43 minutes, not really, because he was sad. He was kind of depressed for the first 15 minutes. But let's say giving like a good 30 minutes that he's just killing everybody, is probably the best thing that's ever appeared on Disney Plus, but that's really that's really not saying much. And the thing is that with such a small effort, they could have just made a full feature film. You know what I mean? This could have been maybe act 3 of a movie that builds up. You know, he's minding his own business, trying to live his life. He's doing his thing in the neighborhood, quietly, maybe solving some issues, you know, quietly where nobody knows that he's doing it, and like taking out some trash here and there. But then at the end, there's some situation where some neighbors, you know, some little girl is being harassed or something. And this guy is like, okay, he snaps, he goes out and, like, you know, gets rid of the entire like gang of the neighborhood himself, like, you know, goes to war with them personally. I could get behind that. You know what I mean? A 2-hour movie like that, build it up. He's a bit sad. He's trying to continue with his life. He's still doing his vigilante thing quietly, you know, finds a family that like embraces him. He feels good about them, but now they're under a threat, and he snaps. For Act 3, what we saw in this, you
Yeah.
know, in this 43
Yeah.
minutes, give me the thing. He just, you know, shoots everybody, whatever. It's fine. I could have been okay with it. It's just like the whole thing of him killing all these people. It's like a
No.
payoff to something that was never set up. If you understand what I mean.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. This is a payoff with nothing set up. And you say, you know, you can't do much in 44, 45 minutes. You can do more than this, though. You can certainly, I've seen some very tight, short movies that pack a lot more. This is exactly right. It's like, let's just take the best part of the crappy movie we're going to make and show that. And I thought it dragged because they were having to stretch the story out to fill 6 or 8 episodes. I honestly thought that. And I'm thinking, man, they're spending a lot of money on makeup effects and blood. But
No,
this is a payoff with no setup. You're exactly right.
it would have been a cool final 30 minutes. Like, I would have even done something else. First of all, Caleb Levine says, Price, that would involve writing, and they don't do that well at Disney, which is a real shame. This didn't even need any kind of groundbreaking writing, okay? All you needed to do was this. You could even do like a Pale. Have you seen the movie Pale Rider?
Yeah. And I can write this one for you in 2 minutes, but go ahead.
This could have been Pale Rider. Basically, he's in some, but not in the West. You know what I mean? He goes to some town. He's trying to mind his own business. There's some people there. Gradually, whatever. He tries to do the right thing. He tries this. He tries that. And at the end, there's like a final act where there's no choice, and the stranger that came to town now has to go and take them all out. Like, it's so simple. It's like the easiest thing. Sometimes like the most easy and obvious things that you're like, come on, you're just gonna have them come in here and like, you know, do this thing and get rid of everybody at the end. Yes. What's the whole point of this? You want to feel something emotional. Why do you want to see him, you know, get rid of all the people? Because something bad has happened, and there's only one man that can now settle the score. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
he let
D-
everything go on. He was trying to be a good guy and whatever, but at the end, what can you do? They pushed him too far. They also hurt maybe one of like his people that took him in and treated him like family. He doesn't have a family, so them treating him like family important to him. Now it's personal. He goes out. Trust me, this seems, even if you're thinking, you're rolling your eyes thinking this is such a trope and a cliche, trust me when I tell you this. It's just like Jason Statham. He's done the same movie for the past 20 years. He's made the same movie over and over again, but it works every time.
yeah. Are we doing spoilers?
Sure. I don't even think there's anything to spoil
Okay.
here, man.
No,
This is
no.
like, this is a nothing. There's nothing. You couldn't spoil this Punisher thing even if you wanted to. It
Oh,
is literally him just shooting a bunch of people for most of the thing, and prior to him shooting people, he's sad and hallucinating because he's depressed. Which,
yeah, I am so tired of that PTSD flashback shit and everything, though. Goddamn, it was having me pulling my hair out.
I just generally wait. We have another guest here, I believe. Let's see what happened to. Okay, I think he's here.
Okay.
Let's see. Here we
Okay.
go.
Can I do my 2-hour version of what we just saw? That would be
Sure. Do
exactly
your
per-
2-hour version.
Okay, so the Punisher, you see him about 10 minutes. He does this technically exacting, impossible shot. He's doing on the very last of the crime family that killed his family. It's like 3,000 meters. No one has ever made this shot. He's doing all the little scopey shit. He's setting his windage, his elevation. Even the guy, security guy goes, nobody could hit you from here. We're safe. He walks in, is like, bam, and he gets the guy. Then we roll up. He now has lost his purpose in life because he's completely eliminated all of his enemies. And he decides he's going to join his family, which means, you know, going to the cemetery and joining them literally. But on the way out, he finds this really weird Somali bakery in the middle of Little Italy, which doesn't really seem to belong, but that's okay. And somehow this little girl needs his help. Maybe it's just to hang a picture, and she hugs him on the leg. And the father goes, you know, we get some pretty rough crowd in here. You know, we could use some extra help. And all of a sudden he finds purpose. He finds a new family, and he's working in the bakery. He learns to make bread. He's shopping for yeast. The little girl just absolutely adores him. And then you get the gang, and the gang come in and they mess up. And then basically that leads into the parts that we saw. Like, then you've got a movie that sets up, pays off, and also shows, you know, he was done. He was finished. He lost purpose. He decided he didn't need to be on Earth anymore. And then all of a sudden he finds new purpose right before. And you don't need all the PTSD and the flashbacks and the weird hallucinations and the unreliable narrating thing, which is all really super irritating. But that's how they get the cameos in, right?
Right. And it was just sorry, go on.
No, but you don't make Little Italy look like Escape from New York combined with The Crow, combined with The Purge, and everybody's on PCP, but in the daytime. Where the hell was that, man? It was like a prison yard, but in the middle of downtown New York. It was
so weird, so weird.
Yeah.
No, but you know what? Here's the thing, is that the reason why I didn't suggest what you said, which is a good idea, is because it's established by now that pretty much, supposedly, all these people, especially in a place like New York, they recognize Frank Castle for some reason. I mean, I thought that that's what they were going for. So if they do, then maybe him being in New York City in this exact location maybe isn't the best. That's why I was saying that it could have been an interesting story, like a Pale Rider. But I like no problem with him working at the bakery. This is similar to what I told you. A family takes him in. You're just sort of expanding on it and connecting it to the character.
Well, they had the family in the show. They just played it off a little wrong.
Totally wrong.
And also, you know, he did via flashbacks. They showed him getting the last couple of guys. So I thought, you know, maybe they meet out of town in New Jersey on the docks where they'll know they'll be safe, or on the water. And you get, you know, that you get the gear porn scene of 10 minutes of him, you know, zeroing his rifle, custom loading his ammo, making impossible shot. People can watch that. They like that. You see that he's more than a thug. He's not feral. He is a calculating, technical killing machine. And you get to see him that, and then you get to see him run out of gas. And then you get to see him get purpose again. Then you get to see that purpose be ripped away from him. And that's when he realizes he will never be finished. He will always have a job to do, as long as there are cities like wherever the hell that was supposed to be, you know, on this planet. I guess Kingpin isn't the mayor anymore, huh?
well, I guess not. Well, what I was going to say was, even if you're going for the most cliche, it's still better than nothing. Like, for example, he's in the middle of nowhere. He works at this, like, you know, diner or bakery or whatever the fuck these people work at. Sorry, Sean. And he helps them. And he's the apprentice to the older guy. The older guy is now treating him like his son. You know, his daughter and his granddaughter and whatever, they're all treating him like family. And
but then, they know he's the Punisher. They have to know he's the Punisher, right? I haven't watched this
maybe
yet, so.
That's why I suggested that he goes to the middle of nowhere. Like,
yeah, you could move the whole story out to a different city and still do the thing.
I'm talking like a rural area. He maybe like changes something about his mustache and they don't know it's him, or who the fuck knows? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's just go with the fact that he's in a rural area, and maybe we can suspend disbelief that not everybody knows he's the Punisher at this point. So he's working
that
there.
in the second season, pretty much. Yeah, he was out on the road there, and
and then he was perfect.
Opening bar scene.
Yeah. Listen, he falls 3 stories Aries lands on his head and gets up and still keeps fighting. So I can believe he did something to his face and now nobody knows who he
By
is.
the way,
Sure.
that was one of my notes. I'll tell you my notes in a second. But like, yes, he's in the middle of nowhere. He's working at this place. They're like, oh, they're old, old school folks. They don't care about the internet that much. If they do, it doesn't immediately come up that he's Frank Castle. Maybe he has a different name. He calls himself like, George Benson or something. And then who was George Benson? George Benson was is that a singer?
Guitarist.
That's the Jefferson from the
The
Jefferson.
Jefferson? Or then
No,
no,
that's
he was from the
George.
show Benson.
Yeah, George Benson is Nights on Broadway. He's the incredible jazz guitarist.
Right, George Benson. What was the first name of Benson on Benson?
I think it was George. No.
No,
Herbert.
George Benson is
Herbert.
a singer.
Herbert, right? Did he have a first name?
Who knows?
Let's see. He started on Soap. It was a soap spin-off.
Right,
And
he
that
was
show
Butler
was
on Soap,
funny
and then
as
he was
hell.
like helping the governor or something. I don't know. I always wondered how he went from there to there, but who knows? In any case,
his name was Benson Dubois.
Benson Dubois. Okay, that's
Okay.
good to know.
Yep.
Back to this thing here. He calls himself George Benson, or he can call himself Benson Dubois in whatever, wherever he goes. And then a family takes him in, teaches him, and whatever. Like I said, different haircut, different whatever. He just hangs out. Everybody likes him. Now, the most cliche of cliches. This place in the middle of the nowhere. There's because of those kind of moonshiners. I don't know what happens in like rural areas. They have like
meth. It's meth. It's always meth.
They're doing meth and moonshine or whatever it is that they do. And somehow they come and start causing problems in the place. And, the older guy knows that it's best not to do stuff, but, Frank doesn't like it. So initially he's quiet, but when he sees that they're starting to bother or do something, he starts pushing back a little. Minorly, maybe slapping around one guy, and quietly more come, and it starts to become an issue. But then at the end they either light on fire, they light because we saw a fire here, they light that whole bakery or diner, whatever the fuck it is, on fire, and beat up the old man or whatever it is, like what we saw here, that there's an old man, they're beating him up, they take his hat, he's also a veteran, whatever, they take his hat, disrespect him, and at this point, and especially that they have the little girl who's counting on the Punisher, that at this point, that's it, he's done. And then he goes personally, and they all think that they're just they're about to take out the trash. They bring all these criminals. You can have them all on motorcycles, you know what I mean? Like those kind of Sons of Anarchy. There's 500 Sons of Anarchy. And at the end, that's it. He puts on his Punisher suit, not in the last frame. He puts it on proper, because this whole thing he's wearing like a
hoodie,
some hoodie or something.
Hoodie,
what the fuck
yeah.
is he doing? Why is he wearing a hoodie? So the whole thing he's wearing a hoodie. We see him actually in the Punisher suit. Goes around, kicks ass, takes out personally the entire Sons of Anarchy themselves, Sons of Anarchy, but there's 100 of them, takes them all out in a climactic 30-minute scene of him kicking ass. And then at the end, they finally realize, or whatever, I don't know who he is, or he realizes that he's causing too much trouble to this family. So even though he's so close to them and they mean so much to him, he understands that he has to go and continue to be the Punisher, and he says goodbye to them. And much like in Pale Rider at the end, the young girl is calling him and sad that he's leaving because he's sort of the father that she never has, and then he rides off into the sunset, and that's it.
Yeah, but the young girl in Pale, she kind of, wanted, that was like the Native American Phoebe Cates there, and she wanted to open up her teepee to the Pale Rider, and that's what happen.
I don't think that she was a Native American, that one at the end there.
No, but she looked a little she looked a little, but she had a Phoebe Cates thing going on. But yeah, dude, she was throwing herself at him, it was a little uncomfortable. But
she kind of
they
was
did
into
get
him,
married
yes.
at that age back in the day,
I think that was the actress's name Sydney Penny?
That sounds familiar because I've recently watched the movie.
Yeah, she made her debut in the Clint Eastwood movie, and I think that's her, Sydney Penny.
Yep.
But meanwhile, also the part that was naughty in Pale Rider is that Clint Eastwood, when the other guy there wasn't looking, I think he did something naughty with the guy's wife.
You think I don't I know they implied that he thought that, but I didn't think he got I didn't think he did that.
I think that Clint Eastwood, in addition to, taking care of all the bad guys in town, when the husband wasn't looking, I think he was kind of sticking it to the wife.
Well, they
I don't
weren't
know. I
married,
don't know if
but
that's a PC way to put it, Mark. Is sticking
Yeah.
it to her
yeah.
a good
Should
way
we do a poll if the chat if they think that he got down to business?
You want
They
to
weren't
do it?
married
Okay,
either.
let's do a poll. Let me see if I can find it.
Yeah, that's Michael Moriarty's girlfriend, I guess. I've been kind of taking care of them since their husband got killed. So
Let me see if I really want to do a poll here because this is important stuff as to Phobos.
yeah, I'm interested, and I'm actually gonna go
Oh, and
ask
there's also
Jim.
super chats, so it's good to know, and memberships
Oh,
and
cool.
stuff like that. Hold on one second. How do I? Okay, I'm going to do a poll. I hope everybody's ready. This is the most important poll that was ever created here.
Everyone, make sure you vote.
Did Clint Eastwood stick it to the lady in Pale?
Yeah, her name was Sarah Wheeler. So
Okay,
Pale-
this
Pale-
is very important
Pale
stuff.
Rider.
Very important stuff.
Yeah. I love that movie. What a great movie.
yeah, what do you think, Mark? Did they do the nasty or?
There's a scene. There's a scene that implies that they're gonna do something. That she's like, I don't care if you're a preacher or not, preacher. And then like she closes the door, and it's like, well, what just happened here? And
I don't
mind
think
you,
they
I haven't
did.
seen this in years, and I'm like, I think Clint Eastwood is sticking it to that lady.
You may be right. It says, yes, in Clint Eastwood's character, the preacher, they imply a romantic encounter with Sarah Wheeler, portrayed by Carrie Snodgrass in Pale Rider. The scene occurs after she announces her intention to marry Hull Barrett. The film focuses more on the emotional connection and the character's mysterious nature than explicit graphic sex. See, I thought he was a ghost. I didn't know he actually could have sex. So,
well, people are now in the poll. They're voting against me, and I don't understand. We have proven in the middle of the poll that I was right.
well,
I don't think they did. I don't think they did. I think
that
there's
was
an inference there.
Yeah, that was just one Google's opinion. They said implied, so it's still they leave the final in the end. They leave the final analysis up to the viewer. But since basically Pale Rider is High Plains Drifter, and I know he couldn't get busy in that one, so I'm going. I'm still going with them.
I want to show you what I did. Are you ready?
Yep.
So I wrote, did Clint Eastwood stick it to the lady in Pale Rider? And the AI says yes. Clint Eastwood's character.
No. Yeah, but that's just click on the link. What is that? Artisan Uniburla. That's a California website. You never trust those.
No, that's a
Canada.
Canada.
Yeah, even worse.
Yeah, but he's a preacher. He never would have sex.
Well,
AI mode.
Priests don't have sex. Preachers can get married and have all the sex they want.
Don't sleep with one of them in Pale Rider.
You got to go to the.
Here, this occurs late in the film, and this is from, not that I consider Wikipedia anything, but this occurs later in the film after Sarah announces her intention to marry the community's leader, Hull Barrett. The encounter is fueled by the tense environment and the preacher's mysterious magnetic presence.
Yeah, and since they didn't actually ship in my head canon, they didn't do it. But yeah, I do concede the point. I do.
There's no other way to interpret it. She's like, I remember the scene, and I haven't watched this movie in decades. She's like, I don't care if you're a preacher or not, yo. And like, that's it. That's it. She closes the door. And trust me, I was a kid. I was a little kid when I watched that movie. And even though I was a little kid, I said to myself, I totally get it. Clint Eastwood is now sticking it to this lady. I knew it. I knew it the second she like closed the door and gave him this like naughty look. There was no other way to interpret it.
She gave him the Sarah Connor look, right? Now, listen, man, that means Carrie Snodgrass banged a zombie or a ghost. I like what Real Headcase said. When you're a ghost, you can't really get it up.
No, but he wasn't a ghost. I don't know. I've never subscribed to the theory that this man is a ghost. He's the real deal. He's Clint Eastwood, and Clint Eastwood always the ladies like Clint Eastwood, even when he's older.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, well, his mysterious nature, again, that's something they leave vague. You could say, he's just that guy who's impossible to kill or get rid of or whatever. Like, I love the fact that everything is so, non-specific and up in the air, but still very grounded story. So, I like a little mysteriousness in with my Western. So, I mean, it's a little more, it implies a little more supernatural in High Plains Drifter because he sort of vanishes as he's riding away. But I can concede to the fact. But Clint, if it was a choice between the two of them, I might have gone. I might have gone with the daughter. Just saying.
I think the daughter was like 5 years old. Is the Phobos?
No. She said she was 14. She's ready to marry. They got married at that age. So
back then they did, yeah.
Yeah. It's okay.
They did back then. I think that this would not work out well, and I think that Clint Eastwood did the right choice with the age-appropriate love interest during that time.
No. I wouldn't do it now, but if I was a semi-corporeal gunslinger in the 1860s,
you would never do it. It's the wrong thing to do, and you wouldn't do it. And I'm happy we were able to clarify that matter.
Yes.
And now we're going to go back.
Yes.
Go back. Yes. I don't know where you were going with this, the Phobos, but I know that you would probably go with the older lady who's age appropriate, as we would all. And I'm happy we were able to clarify.
Well, if you are looking for that scene, it occurs at the 1 hour 32-minute mark or 38-minute mark in the whichever version you're watching.
Scott. Okay,
I'm gonna go look at it right now.
For the few people still listening to this stream,
I am going with the YouTube approved version of Proper Behavior.
Yes, absolutely. Also, I mean, again, it's not even a situation where you could say, listen, she was 18, maybe if it's a case where it's a 18-year-old, nice looking woman, and he's already his age and he's walking around and gunslinging and she's into him, you could at least understand if there was a dilemma there. But under the circumstances, the way that movie is, I don't think there's really a dilemma. She's presented as a young lady who sort of has a crush on the local gunslinger, and at the end when he needs to dip his salami in something, then he
sauerkraut, mustard,
and then he goes with the older lady.
Yeah. I'm just saying, if I was a gunslinger from the 1960s, I would say, what is this 20th century you speak of? I've never heard of it. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Anyhow, I don't know how we got here. I brought up the Pale Rider. I brought up the Pale Rider, so whatever this is my fault. I take responsibility for it.
Though, yeah.
Now back to the Punisher. So if they created a Pale Rider like story, it would have been perfect. He's perfect for that. And even if you've seen it before, and even if they did it in season 2, like Mark said, it still works. They did it because it works. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you don't need to overthink about it. Now, I want to read some notes to you that I read, I wrote during the thing.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah, I have a few left as well. Go ahead.
So I wrote some notes down. I just want to see what I wrote. I wrote, it tries too hard to be gritty, but ends up depressing. Yeah, that whole opening, it's like, oh, look, and this, and it's like what you were saying. I also write, don't want psych stuff, and that's the PTSD we're talking about.
Yeah.
I never like it. Honestly, when there's a show that I watch, let's say that there's a lot of stuff going on, and then a whole episode is dedicated to some character hallucinating and thinking about some weird shit and all trippy whatever, I usually don't like that. I don't care what he's hallucinating. It almost feels like an episode that's sidetracking me, that instead of giving me story, it's giving me some bullshit. You know what I mean? It's
Absolutely.
fine if you have 1 minute of it in an episode if it matters to the plot or something, but otherwise, you know where it would have been good? If, let's say, when he's trying to protect the girl and one of the guys knocks him out, and for a second he's out of it and has flashes of stuff that he's done, kind of like, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
he's like,
like wake up, daddy, wake up, as
wake
he's
up, and then
coming
like he
to.
wakes
Yeah,
up and
yeah,
he's like, okay, now I'm angry, and then he kicks everybody's
yeah,
ass. You know
yeah,
what I mean? So,
absolutely.
something like that, you can do that. I wrote, I don't like dreams. It's not that I don't like dreams forever, but it's like if you're building this whole 15 minutes just on stupid dreams and visions of like Curtis and Karen Page. I like Curtis and Karen Page, but they had nothing to do with them here. They're just like you said, glorified cameos, not worth shit.
Yep.
There's another problem. Why would Angela Bauer, the actress, whatever her name is, who played the Italian mother? Did you
Uh-huh.
see Angela Bauer here?
Yeah, yeah.
So Angela Bauer, from Who's the Boss, plays this Italian mother lady in a wheelchair. She's like, I'm gonna give you until 6:47 p.m. to like, to get killed. And then she leaves, and it's like, hey, it reminded me of Austin Powers. First of all, if you want him dead, like,
Yeah.
he's already here. Like, just pull out a gun and just do your thing. You could have already surprised him 10 times. You know what I mean? The other thing is, it's like, what are you giving him, like a head start? And then after he hears this all, he just goes to the room and starts like looking at his like ghosts or something, and he's like thinking about his feelings. It's like, dude, she just told you that the entire army of people is going to be here. You're putting everybody around you in danger of being kind of an asshole. And he's like sitting there and meditating and shit. Like all of this is just super annoying. And then
Okay. Yeah.
Well, I'm watching this as we talk, and 15 minutes in, it's all backstory,
Yeah.
hallucinations, and I've read most of the Garth Ennis works and
Yeah.
Punisher comic for years, and yeah, there's a lot of depth to Frank Castle's character. It's not just let's go out and
Yeah.
shoot criminals, but wow, this is a lot of, and I don't have the volume off, I just have the subtitles. But,
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
have
this
it
is a
in
lot of
port.
setup. It's a 15 minutes of setup. It's not bad, but most people have seen
We
this
all know
before.
that. Yeah, they show it every season of the regular Punisher, and they showed it in Daredevil.
There's one other issue that
Okay.
basically this show, don't forget, we haven't gotten a proper season of Punisher in ages. We see him here and there. We saw him in some Daredevil Born Again. Even that seemed like it was ages ago. So when I first saw him, I'm like, I don't even remember what he's doing. Where is he now? What's he doing? Why is he here? And
Yeah.
and when I want to learn where he's at, these 15 minutes don't do anything for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah.
trying to think, when did he kill those Italians? Did he kill them? Do I remember him killing them? What do I remember? Wasn't he running away from Fisk? And then like in his own show, he was now like going around to some places, the Punisher, and killing people. Like I can't even remember, between all the different versions, shows, spin-offs, and cameos and whatever, I can barely even remember what the guy is doing, you know?
Oh,
And
yeah.
as
Been
much
a
as
long
like he has
time, yeah.
PTSD and stuff like that, and I hate to say, I don't know how else to describe it. In the past, he wasn't such a like whiny pussy, you know what I mean? Like even with all of his problems, like yes, he's sad, yes, he's angry, yes, he's pissed, and all that stuff. But like, I don't really need 15 minutes. Maybe if you had like 10 hours, 10 episodes of an hour each, and in one episode you gave a little time for his PTSD. He's maybe injured, he's in a hospital bed, he's thinking. Maybe you could get away with it. But you're only 43 minutes in like 7 years that you have an episode of The Punisher, and you just have these 43 minutes. And to give us him like hallucinating, talking to like a phony version of Karen Page and Curtis, and then just
Yeah.
like, drinking and throwing up and looking at pictures, who gives a shit? And yeah, I understand that his wife was killed and his children, whatever, but man, even I haven't seen that show in years. Remember that they keep peddling that same thing over and over again. Give some more depth, do something. You have 43 minutes. 43 minutes needs to be the best told story ever. Instead, they're just jerking off like they always do over at Disney. Sorry, what were
Yeah.
you going to say, Ista?
Well, I have 4 notes here, but I want to correct. It was actually Judith Light played
Yeah.
Isabella Carmela Magdalena Ganucci. So she was the one. And so
Yeah,
my
that's Angela
Who's the
Bauer.
boss? Yeah.
right.
No, it's Judith Light.
It's
Judith Light.
It's
It's Judith Light.
Yeah. So my
No,
my
but Judith Light is the actress that plays Angela Bauer on Who's the Boss.
Yes,
Yeah.
It is her. Oh, okay. Yeah, I got confused. Yeah, I wasn't a huge Who's the Boss thing. So I have like
I may
5
be wrong about a lot of shit, Mr. Phobos,
yeah.
but that was Angela Bauer.
No,
They
I
used to
believe
dance with,
believe
like
you.
Tony Danza.
I
A
thought you were
brand new
saying the
life
actress.
around the. You
Yeah,
remember that song? Brand new life.
I
Brand
thought
new
you were
life.
saying that's the
Brand new
actress's
life
name.
around the bend.
Okay, so I have 6 notes left. It was the same tired homeless man exposition trope, but they actually killed his cute little dog. They killed the dog. So, you know, you need a reason for Frank Castle to do horrible things. They actually went one step further than John Wick. My second thought when Ma Ganucci comes by is the writers watched too much Penguin. They are going for the Penguin vibe because they saw that was an actual really good show. The most important part about this story was Ma Ganucci reacting to the murder of her son Carlo, but Frank would have never killed an innocent kid. He only got the bad guys. And if this 15-year-old kid, she said he kept his hand clean, he was going to school, used his mind, Frank would not have curb stomped him like that. And
did they ever say the kid did anything wrong, or
no, they specifically said he did not, and that's she's like the other guys. Yeah, I get why you did that, but Carlo, he was my angel. He never did nothing. I'm saying, and in the show, it really looks like he was a good kid who cared about his mom, and I'm saying then he would have been off limits to Frank.
Yeah, I mean, there's a. Well, I was going to say, there's a tradition of, eliminating everyone's family and their offspring.
Not from the Punisher, though.
But not the Punisher. Well, I was just going to say,
That's a mafia thing. Frank was there. He had a code, and he didn't break his code. And his code was, if you weren't involved, you're innocent. You don't do collateral damage. But my very last thing, after he takes like the 8 Baker guys, stabs them, and they all bleed out, my final note, that bakery is never going to pass health inspection ever again. Might as well burn it. Yeah, might as well burn the guy's livelihood to the ground. Sorry, you didn't save anybody.
You also mentioned, and I agree with you, and it was, again, my notes that I'm looking at it now. I wrote falling off buildings, ? I mean, yeah. He is the Punisher, but it's one thing if like one time he went to that smaller floor that was underneath, maybe you could say, well, you can get away with it. But he like jumps again and jumps again and jumps. Come on, man. You're not Spider-Man. You can't like jump from all these buildings and like fall on the floor and then just brush it off and get up. It's like, he's not invincible. I'm not saying, I mean, obviously, even in the original series on Netflix, he got beaten really badly. And he still got up, but you could really tell each time, like, the other guy needed to help him with his wounds and whatever. Like, at least they made it seem like he's in a lot of pain or something. But here in this case, he's just like, I'll just jump off the building again.
Yeah, do you see what I'm saying about them? They're going for that Penguin vibe. Like, I really feel like somebody watched the Penguin and said,
I agree.
We need to put some Italian stuff in this and old school gangster and
right.
Yeah, they were totally going for that.
It's possible. I wouldn't put that beside them because they seem to have no original ideas, but we have some super chats here, and I want to just address them. First of all, we have Mur Rockstra, who's been a member for 20 months, and that's cool. Anybody that's a member here for 20 months is a big friend of our channel, and we're very, very grateful. Thank you. Then we have the Dead Man, who also is a friend of the channel. He has his own channel where he talks about Star Trek, which you should check out. Pale Rider, Whiskey Breath, Man with No Name, and Bill Money, all the same guy. Changed my mind. Possibly, yeah.
No. I agree. I'm not going to change shit.
I think you're right. I think in my mind, I always imagine that it's the same universe. Like, it's Clint Eastwood. He's here to kick ass again. And I totally consider him the same guy. So whether it's intended or not, I feel that way. Didn't Clint Eastwood direct Pale Rider? Wasn't that an early movie, one of the early ones that he would direct?
I think you are correct. I think, and that's why he kind of wanted to redo some things from High Plains Drifter.
Because Pale Rider's 85, isn't it?
Yeah, and he produced
85,
it.
Yeah,
he wrote it.
He directed the 70s.
Yeah.
He's an uncredited writer, producer, and director, and starring. Yeah, it was the real deal. Still is, actually.
And one of the movies, I can't remember which one, he fired the director, like got the director fired and took over. This is a rule.
Right, I don't remember, but I don't think that was this one.
That wasn't this one, but one of the movies.
No, it could be. Let me see for a second.
Did Ernest Tidyman get writing credit on Pale Rider? I'm wondering.
Because then there was a controversy about who got the directing credit, and there's a rule now too that
Yeah.
basically Clint Eastwood rule because of
Well,
that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
here's the thing people not realize on many movies, Clint Eastwood is the musical director uncredited because he
plays
is
instrument,
actually a
yeah.
very good musician. He's a jazz pianist. He's got great sensibilities, but he's not a member of the union. He can't do, but I know for a fact he was, in essence, the de facto musical director for several of his films.
I'm sure of it.
Yeah.
So then the next thing we have is Kingdom. Why can't I see the name properly? Kingdom.
Of Clint, this is
It's
Clint
all
movie.
Kingdom
it,
YI4H, whatever that
yeah, it's all
means.
passwordy stuff.
So passwordy stuff. High Plains Drifter, Pale Rider, Unforgiven, definitely a trilogy. Fair enough. Like I
Yeah,
said, I
yeah.
think it's more than a trilogy. It's like the first version of the MCU. Like what is later the MCU, I think is like Clint Eastwood going from place to place and kicking everybody's ass. Dollars trilogy is the best trilogy. Can't argue with that. Dead Man, that's for $1.99. So originally, Dead Man gave a $4.99. Then he gave now a $1.99, and the Kingdom gave €5. So that's cool. And then the Real Head Case, also friend of the channel, $1.99. Isn't Punisher's story of the Cobra movie uh, the one that we saw here?
He's saying, yeah, the Stallone Cobra movie, probably, but again, they keep remaking that movie because it works.
So basically,
Now,
yeah, I mean, yeah, sometimes a certain idea just works and you don't need to overthink it. People always think that like, oh, I can't just do the classic thing that a guy shows up, gets revenge or does this or does that. Like, oh, that's too expected of me. I want to be more like unique and more this and more that. Now, some people maybe they're able to be more unique, but in most cases they're not able to. So, if you can't be more unique, and you don't know what you're doing, it's best to fall back on the things that work. There are certain elements of storytelling that have worked not only in cinema, but you go back hundreds of years, you go to like, stage plays where like they used to do like shitty things on stage or whatever. Even then, they did the same thing. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you go back thousands of years, and stories that were told have certain emotional beats, certain heroic moments, certain things that very basic instincts that we can, human instincts or whatever that we can relate to. So even if it seems like a trope, sometimes a trope is better than not knowing whatever you're doing or trying to be too much of a wise ass.
Yeah, and some tropes work, and the differences and the details and the color and the flavor of the thing, and that's what, again, like Seven Samurai is the same story as the Magnificent Seven, but they are two completely different movies and they both work and they're both amazing. So yeah, there's nothing wrong with sort of carrying a similar kind of story, but I do think it's funny. It's like Stallone Cobra. Yeah, pretty much. That works
Uh,
for me.
the real head case, I like this comment. He said, "Yes, guys, those are the best type of stories, like Night of the Seven Kingdoms." Yeah, out of
Yeah.
all the kind of Game of Thrones and all the stuff that they try to do, all like 70 Westeros, and they're going to 70 different locations and dragons and whatever, and Seven Kingdoms works so well because it's just a very simple story of an underdog guy that just wants to like show that he's a knight. And at the end, all the people that are knights are actually kind of hypocrites, and they're not willing to even protect people. And he's the only one who's questionably, you don't even know if he really is a knight, is the only one that's willing to do that. And I
do the
think
right
that,
thing.
what'd
Yeah,
you say?
and
What'd you say, Mark?
Well, he's the only one that wants to do the right thing, right?
Right.
yeah,
In the Night of
yeah,
the Seven Kingdoms, right? And that's
and
what the other I'm forgetting the name of the characters now, but the king's brother, he goes to his side and he says, basically, isn't there honor left anymore? And that's what's such a great moment about that story because he's the little guy that's downtrodden, and he's the only one doing the right thing, and all the mucky mucks, all the royalty, most of them are just gonna go with the flow and not and go take the easy route, or take the the guy that switched sides
Yeah.
and he takes the kingdom. It's
That's why it was really tragic that they left out the one line, and the showrunners admit they didn't mean to leave it out, and it was their mistake. When he's walking up to the tournament, Dunk goes, "Why are these people cheering for me?" And the guy turns to him and says, "'Cause you're a knight that remembers his vows." And that was a line that they left out of the TV show,
which is a shame.
Yeah.
But in any case, I still enjoyed the the Night of the Seven Kingdoms, and yeah, let me look at the super chats more because I think there's more of them.
You got a couple coming just now.
Yeah, so we have the Dead Man with another $4.99. Thank you so much, Dead Man. Very, very generous of you tonight. 3 shows that were more than 10 episodes prior to the modern era: Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, and The Americans. No political BS.
Yeah.
Yeah, those were good shows. Those were good shows for sure. I will
Breaking
say
Bad was so good it had me rooting for a guy to make a meth deal.
Yeah.
Breaking Bad was so well made that, like, there was the moment that, like, no matter who got in Walt's way, that guy has got to go. You don't care if like some little kid gets in the way of him. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, Walter White can't lose this thing. You're totally
Right?
invested.
You're rooting for him.
You're rooting for him. Even like, when you watch the, sorry, spoilers. It's not a real kind of spoiler. You have the lady with the poison, if you know what I mean, there in the finale, and when you're watching it, you're thinking, man, well, that other lady, she's just gonna, be able to get away. And then they do the thing with the poison, and like even that, you're kind of like rooting for him. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you're happy like that everybody like
Yeah,
scores are settled. You're like, woo!
But there's something really. Remember the speech that Luthen gave in Andor when he's like, "Well, what have you given up?"
Yeah.
And it reminds me of Walter White. Like, in order to achieve what he needed to achieve, he gave up the person that deserved it. And he became the monster. And then by the time it ended, I honestly, I wasn't rooting for him anymore. But it was an interesting road to get there.
I was rooting for him until the end, like until the very last frame. I was even saying, "Hey, get up, man!
You're alive." Yeah.
No,
Or the best scene was the brother going to the bathroom and sees the book and realizes his brother-in-law's Heisenberg.
That is
novel.
awesome.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
So
And
fucking
it's
good.
filmed like a movie too. That whole TV show. It's beautiful,
Now,
beautiful cinematography.
I'm always rooting for Saul. I'm always that's someone I will always root for. God, I love that show. I thought it was better than Breaking Bad. I know there's a split difference of opinion on that, but
I'll tell you what, it's a really, really good show, and I would have given it like, a lot of like praise, which it does get for me. The problem for me is the final 15 minutes of the final episode take an otherwise fantastic show and
I
leave
know.
in kind of a situation where I feel like, somebody called Vince Gilligan and said, "Vince, are you sure this show is woke enough?
Yeah.
Do you think maybe now when there's 15 minutes left, you can throw in a little woke here, like just to wrap it up?" And it's like, you haven't done that through over 2 series, like for a million episodes. Why are you this stupid thing here at the end? And I just felt that there was something disappointing that
Yeah.
Saul
I
doesn't act
ignore
like
the
himself.
last.
Doesn't act like himself there.
No, I ignore the last bits of that show, but for 5 seasons it carried me through. Like, I've never seen a show that you could watch for 5 seasons with the volume off and know exactly everything that's going on. It's such good subtext, such great visual storytelling, and it's just beautiful. So,
It's one of the most well done shows ever.
Yeah.
And Better Call Saul doesn't disappoint either. Yeah.
No, it doesn't disappoint. But the thing is that like Breaking Bad at the end gives you the entire roller coaster. It sticks the landing. And I'm telling you again, Better Call Saul, the last 15 minutes, what would have been true to me is if Saul Goodman managed to maneuver everybody, get like the most minor deal in a minimum security penitentiary, and give them all the middle finger, and that's how it ends. I would have bought that. That's
Yeah,
how it should
and
have ended. Not like, oh, what about Kim?
I,
Shut up, dude. She'll be fine.
yeah,
She
and
lives
I
in
am
Florida. Nobody gives a shit about her. Just do
yeah.
whatever you got to do, man.
Yeah, no, I agree. That was out of character, but I've never rooted for a character as much as I rooted for Jimmy McGill, man. It's
Right,
just,
so it ended in a shitty way, you know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Like,
yeah.
I
I'm just
trust me, I
ignoring
am
that.
such a big fan of Vince Gilligan. I think he's amazing. I think he's a brilliant genius. I absolutely love Breaking Bad, maybe my favorite show ever. Better Call Saul, one of my favorite shows. I'm not taking away whatever Vince Gilligan is good at and the fact that he's a genius, but man, those final 15 minutes of Better Call Saul, it's so hard to like to accept it. You know, I wish I could have like had a talk with Vince prior, and
Yeah.
told him
Oh,
not to do it, not to
too bad you
not.
didn't meet him at a party and could have explained to him, dude, you're about to ruin your whole career in 15 minutes.
I wish I would have met the guy. I would have said, "Don't do it, Vince. Don't do it."
Yeah, I got
And
to be honest. I think I actually just sort of tuned out at the very end there because I didn't. I saw where it was headed, and I'm like, you know what? I'm good. I'm gonna stop here.
Hero of a Thousand Faces. That's from Kingdom, whatever that long thing is afterwards.
It's Joseph Campbell. Yeah.
Yep. So back to Punisher, one last kill. So, did I hate seeing the Punisher kick ass for 30 minutes after the initial shitty 15 minutes of bullshit? I didn't mind, but it's like you already brought the actor. There is nothing wrong with John Bernthal's portrayal of the Punisher. You could tell that he's still game and he's still very eager to do this,
Yep.
and he brings a lot of energy and a lot of excitement. All the parts that he's kicking people's ass, fun to watch. It's just like, it was so little work. Even Jason Statham, when I was talking about him, who's been doing the same movie for 23 years, he knows Act One. Act One, you learn that he used to be in the British Army, okay, but now he's just like your average Joe working for some family or some woman or some retiree or some bullshit doing something. Either he's in construction, he raises bees, you know what I mean? He each time there's some other shit that he does. You know what I mean? And it doesn't even matter between you and me. Who gives a shit? It doesn't matter. And then, somehow, sometime after the first act, in the second act, it turns out that one of the people that's close to him, something bad happened to him. He gets upset, kicks everybody's ass. Then the third act is like the grand finale that he kicks even more ass. And then after like he reaches a point where he's like kicking so much ass that like it's just already like overkill, the movie ends. They could
yeah,
have they could have done that. They could have done
yeah,
that.
yeah,
They didn't do the minimum effort. They could have copy pasted. Like they could have gone to AI and said, "Okay, take like the last 20 Jason Statham movies, use that template and apply it to the Punisher and make a movie for like that's maybe 90 minutes or an hour and 40 minutes." And AI would have come up with something better than what we saw here with this weird shit. Like you said,
yeah.
PTSD. I'm against this PTSD thing. It's a cop out. It's a cop out that you needed to tell the story, and you had him hallucinating and like have a weird version of Karen Page talking to him. It's shitty. It's absolute shit.
Yeah. And I kid you not, I swear to you that I almost tweeted it to you, but I didn't want to give away how I felt. I said, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to handle 7 more episodes of this. Like I honestly thought this was a show.
No, this is a one-off. This is a special. This was a
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah, but
Or a special episode, or because it's only
yeah.
what 45 minutes.
Yeah,
And
I
this has
didn't
gotta
know
be
until
rated
the
R,
stream
right?
started though. Yeah,
Yeah, it's rated R.
definitely. Yeah, TVMA for sure.
So
But
I'm 38 minutes in, and
okay.
wow, that
Yeah.
that quite it's just that pretty intense fight scene. But the fight's good, but it's not great.
No,
I like
it
it's
started
gratuitous.
making me drowsy. It's repetitive. It's just the same thing over and over. I'm sort of losing consciousness here.
You know, like
It's-
the fight scene in the opening of season 2 when he's in the bathroom. I just love that scene where everyone's going after him. It's in a really enclosed space, and he's got to do all these innovative things. And I think he takes the kitchen sink out, and uses the kitchen sink to kill someone. And he takes his belt out, and he's ready. It's showing you know how special he is as a warrior, and is just he's taking the initiative, and it's just very visceral. And I really like that second season of The Punisher. Now
Yeah,
this seemed like almost like it was just hey, let's just have this gratuitous fight scene that's kind of
yeah,
ridiculous. And as a comic book fan, a lot of the stuff is, of course, you got to suspend disbelief, and there's superheroes, and Frank Castle, and a lot of the non superpowered superheroes do some things that are just ridiculous sometimes, but you kind of just you go with it. But and then they kind of explain, with gadgets, or he's always wearing, he's wearing his bulletproof outfit, and
yeah,
just
yeah. There's none
things.
of that though, and it
No,
was just one long repetitive scene. And when the action doesn't have any purpose behind it, that's when I start getting a little drowsy in the movies or whatnot. But back to the hero of 1,000 faces, what Price said, when you think of a hero, you don't think of a guy that sweeps into town as like, I've sat through all of the Senate's trade negotiations and I've traveled to the Galactic Center and blah blah blah. No, you're thinking the lone gunman that rides into town that nobody knows or heard of, that comes and saves everybody's ass and beats up the bad guys. And that's what we want out of our heroes. We don't need all this dragons, Galactic Senate, all this other bullshit.
I want to just say that I don't understand how this poll came out that Clint Eastwood didn't stick it to the Lady in Pale Rider. He absolutely 100. I don't think there's any other way to interpret it. AI has agreed with me. There's, even Istophobos, who was pushing back and also saying some questionable things that we won't repeat here. So
yeah.
So even if Istophobos knows now that this lady was seducing the guy,
Yeah, but we don't want to believe it. It's just one of those wishful thinking things, man. We like we want them pure rider, not just pale rider, pale and pure rider.
I think the idea is that they didn't know if he's gonna even make it out of there alive, and I think she was like, "Listen, you may end up dead, but let me give you something, just to soften the blow here a bit."
two consulting of age adults.
Yeah, look at Real Head Case said to your quote there, Price. AI agreed with me.
Let's ask Clint.
AI did agree with me. It's true.
Yeah.
But you pretty much can always get the AI to agree with you, right?
Yeah. AI also thinks the woman of my dreams has 7 fingers. I wonder what she's going to do with the extra 2.
Be careful.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're referring to, Istophobos, so we better steer away from that one as well. Istophobos is on a strange roll. Anytime Istophobos is here, even though he's VIP, I'm always on eggshells because you never know what he's going to say. And
I'm going to walk right up to the line, but I'm not going to throw you over it, I promise.
You usually throw me over it very nicely, Istophobos, but I'm hoping that today you won't.
Like the Punisher falling off the roof.
No, I'm not gonna. Well, that was a different stream entirely. Yeah, no. Well, yeah. So, how about that Mortal Kombat 2?
So, just quickly before we move on, because there's this Tuner movie that I saw. What's next on our list? Let me see.
Well, you have Tuner is after One Last Kill.
I saw an early screening of Tuner. So first of all, The Punisher One Last Kill. I don't understand why the critics are giving this 85% and the audience 95%. This is not an 85 or a 95. This is probably something that I would give if I was being generous, just because I like John Bernthal in the role. Maybe something in the 60s if I was generous, just because I don't mind seeing him kicking ass. It's just there's no context as to why he's kicking, but maybe I'd give it like something in the 60s, and that's really because I think I like him in the role, and there's something redeeming about it. But it would be like me struggling to think if this even deserves a passing grade because the story is so poor. That's where I'm at. This is no 85. And I'm sorry, I don't know who this audience is. This is no 95%. This is absolute bullshit.
No, that's Punisher fans. But I will say, I did start to glaze over at the really long It's like 3 Daredevil hallway scenes in a row. But watching this was less painful than a single episode of Daredevil Born Again. So
agreed. It was one of the better things that Disney Plus had put
yeah,
on, just by
yeah,
default, not because it's even good. It's just like it doesn't have time to annoy me. If you would have given them another 5 episodes, by the end of it, he would have been like, putting on an apron and like, making
yeah,
cupcakes for like, so the local ladies or something. You know what I mean? Like it would have been
yeah, yeah.
stupid. I
Well, the
actually, I think
problem with a lot of these shows are way too drawn out. So, I just finished it now, and Frank's in the Punisher outfit, but like the Luke Cage show should have been 3 hours.
Yeah.
Some of these shows they just totally lost the plot because the problem is like we love comics that tell. I always love them to tell one story in one issue, or maybe 2 or 3 issues. Very short arcs. And TV has completely got away from the anthology storyline, which is perfect for heroes like Batman or the Punisher or Spider-Man, whatever short story you want to tell, and not have this
Yeah.
long drawn out season. So all these seasons we get now, everyone says, "Oh, we only get 8 episodes a season," but you're only getting one story.
Yeah,
in
but
those
you know
8 or 10
why?
episodes.
Streamers don't get paid for making good shows anymore. They get paid for keeping people watching all weekend. So if they can give you one story and they stretch it out to 8 episodes, they know it's not good, but they don't get paid for good anymore, like in the advertising days. They get paid for holding you hostage. So the business model isn't to make you happy anymore. It's to hold you captive.
Yeah, but I would love if they had 8 fantastic episodes and all told a different story, like a comic book. I don't think the writers are
no,
good
but
enough to do that anymore. I think
you don't
you're right.
understand. If they told a good story and you were satisfied, you might not watch the next thing until later. They need you to scratch that
Bring
itch.
you along,
that
yeah.
Exactly. They cannot pay it off because you might leave. It's a business model that encourages showing you crap. I'm going to say I give this a 68. I would have given it one more, but I didn't want Price to worry again about where I was going to go with that. So I give it a 68.
And the other unbelievable thing is they're showing the Punisher logo now. For years in the comic books, I don't know how close, how much you guys read comics, but they put the Punisher in limbo and made him like a ninja. And they changed his symbol, because they were worried about the wrong elements using the Punisher symbol. The artists who, created the logo, came out against the use by, certain groups.
But didn't they just show the Punisher in the last suit just in the final 60 seconds of this thing?
Yeah.
But it is a pretty well done suit. The suit looks fantastic, I would say.
Yeah,
it's just sad that we only saw it for 1 minute. Like that's
but I'm not gonna, Yeah, it doesn't excuse all of the other stuff. It was good, but I'm talking to a friend and they're like, dude, Wolverine and Daredevil Deadpool and Wolverine was awful. Nothing made sense, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, yeah, but he wore the suit. I'm like, dude, I need to find a way to take your money then, because you're clearly not picky about who you give it away to.
I would give this a B minus, and of course I've just read the subtitles, but C plus B minus. I mean, it hits the right notes of what the Punisher, for the most part, would do. Other than that, horrific kill, but.
That's not fair. You didn't get you watched it while you're hanging with us, so you didn't have to experience the boredom of just watching it all by yourself.
Yeah, and I think that fight scene was way too drawn out. And why didn't they? If the Punisher knows these guys are coming, why doesn't he? Get his, his costume, or his outfit on, get ready for battle, and.
Yeah, because he wasn't the Punisher. He wasn't smart and calculated. He was borderline psychotic. He was crazy. He was feral, and I don't like my Punisher like that either. Yeah.
By the way, I wanted to tell you that I think I was only semi-right about something. In 2022, it's so strange because in 2022, I think Disney got the rights to the Punisher. And it's funny how only after 4 years, the only thing we get is a 43-minute special. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, he appeared in Daredevil, barely like did a few things, but the only thing that's really dedicated to him, everybody was waiting since like 2019 or something for another season, and we get this bullshit of like 43 minutes. So I was semi right and semi wrong, but I still amused myself that let me share this with you. On January 10th, 2022, before there was I did this myself, like, in Photoshop or whatever it is. I did what I thought that the Punisher would look like on Disney Plus. Are you ready?
Yep.
Let's see. One match, two match. Well, that would really apply to Daredevil too. So,
Yeah,
I actually think that they took my plan and applied it
did.
more to Daredevil than they did to the Punisher.
Yeah.
They didn't
That's
have a
because
chance
all they
because they
got
didn't get
from
a
the Punisher
season.
was this special. But yeah,
And that's the new. Oh, that's the new Disney Punisher logo. That was the Marvel. That's
Yeah.
yeah. You have
right,
that.
that was the
Perfect
phony
there.
one, right?
The
So
phony, the phony logo, and they didn't want the
Yeah.
skull on him, and he was
Mark
in
understands me. This
limbo.
was a deep cut. I was
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
thinking that they're not even going to have, but I was wrong. They had him have it. They only gave him 60 seconds with it, but they did actually give him the real,
Yeah.
logo. And
Who are
then
the girls next to? Who are those supposed to be, or just are they generic?
they were just like I found ladies and pasted them there. But I was trying to just say that girl bosses. Imagine
Yeah.
this is like 2022. I'm like, there's going to be two girl bosses, and he's going to be some lame guy that like bakes cupcakes. That's what I was thinking. And then one batch, two batch, cupcake time. That's like a play on the thing and the cupcakes. Relatively speaking, it was pretty clever. I don't think it was appreciated because people don't always appreciate me, but I some thought went into it, and there was no AI then. I couldn't be like, "Hey, can you make a
Yeah.
whatever?" And then 2 seconds later, he makes it. This was me. I did this. Like I had to put this together.
Yeah, well,
Old
you
school
saw my
talent.
Disney billboard, right? We broke it, we bought it. Like that was like the favorite one that I did.
I
Yep.
know. I'm just looking at the credits. John Barenthal wrote this with Ronaldo Marcus Green.
It says that he was a co-writer on the thing. I like John Bernthal. I never, suggested that he has to write the Punisher. I think that one of the main reasons he probably said he wanted to write it, that if nothing else, they won't like do the cupcake thing, and to
Yeah.
some degree, maybe he partially got his wish because I know when they wanted him to play with Punisher, Disney, he was worried because he didn't want the character to be a pussy. That's like something he didn't want,
Yeah.
and I guess like making this special was something that they like threw him a bone and he could do it his way and he wanted it to be violent and all that stuff. I don't mind that. It's just like I wish that in addition to him insisting and doing this thing and trying to be a gatekeeper, they would have just added one person that knows how to write, and that 15 minutes of like sorrow and PTSD would have been
Too
replaced by
much.
like the most minimal exposition suggesting why he would kick everybody's ass. And quite honestly, 43 minutes isn't enough. That's not enough time. 90 minutes minimum. Set up the thing. Without it, it's bullshit.
I think sometimes the actors, like having a scene like that where they can chew the fat or chew the scenery, where it's, something that they get all this emotional stuff. And I'm not saying it's easy for an actor to do, but it's, all this over the top emotional scenery we get in the beginning for 15 minutes. Actors, I think, would probably love to get the opportunity to kind of show off their acting skills. And Barenthal is really good, but it's just too much. And we've seen it like how many times we need to see Batman's origin or Spider-Man's origin, right?
Yeah, we've seen it. We've seen it so many times. Price, I DM'd you that billboard. You don't have to show it, but I just wanted you to see what it looked like.
Where is it? You can share
It's in
it.
your Twitter DMs.
Oh, okay, hold on.
Yeah, and they could always just like you've got all these great Garth Ennis stories. It's like you can just take these stories that always exist, just like Disney's Star Wars killed the EU. Like we don't have any stories out there to tell. Kathleen Kennedy famously once said, we had nowhere to go. And it's like you had all these great books and these amazing,
none of them said the Force is female though, so we couldn't use them.
Yeah. So that's the real tragedy, and you wonder, like like a huge Fantastic Four fan, it's like, why did they start with Doctor Doom and now we're getting Doomsday, and we don't get that whole iteration of the Fantastic Four, and then they had to flip the Silver Surfer to be a female, so the Surfer's girlfriend is now the Surfer, and just just to change things when you don't need to change things. You've got the great stories there. Stick with the classics. And this could have been like actually a 15-minute movie, I think, or a 20-minute episode. You would have gotten the same effect, almost like a deleted scene off a movie or featurette.
Yeah,
Like a short
Price, you
comic.
notice I made the billboard so you couldn't get sued or taken down. I made it, copyright proof.
Yes, no,
Satire,
that's good.
where magic goes to
Good
die,
stuff. Yes, satire.
Yeah.
That is
Satire plus,
quick
yeah.
thinking, Mr. Phobos. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, I did use AI to draw this, but I wrote it and then I told AI what to draw. So,
I would have never thought that was Disney in any way, shape, or form. So if you do think that's
Yes.
Disney, you're completely wrong. And do not
yeah, I don't know what's wrong with you.
Studios. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But I just, I've been thinking that Disney really did used to, like for the last couple of years, it's like it really is where magic goes to die now. Every misstep, everything they've torn down the things people love to put up construction signs and stuff that breaks, and they're getting their behind handed to them by Epic Universe at this point. I'm loving it, I gotta say. But the people that did it, they're gone. They took their payday. They're not going to be around to see the consequences.
For sure. That's how it usually is.
Very sad.
There is something that I wanted to share here because I believe we got another super chat. So let me see if I can find it. Okay. Thank you for that, Istophobos. And we have Kingdom Y1I4H says, stopped watching Disney Marvel after Loki season 2. If we're being honest, I don't even remember if I made it to the end of season 2 of Loki. I started watching it, and at some point I just said, you know what? I don't like this. I think it's annoying. First of all, and this is before any kind of scandals, there was this whole thing with like Majors, what's his name?
Jonathan Majors.
Jonathan
Majors as Kang. And,
God.
I've seen movies that I thought that he acted fine in, but you know what? This role as Kang, and he was trying to be like, I don't know what he was doing in this movie, in this show on Loki. I didn't like him. It's not that I didn't like him because of the casting or anything like that. I simply didn't like his acting on this show. There have been other stuff that I've seen him in that I thought his acting was fine. I didn't like his acting on the show. He kind of comes off as weird and cringe. For some reason,
over the top and phony. It was over the top and phony, I would say.
Yeah, like he was out of his element. Let me put it this way: you put him in like Creed 3. I actually thought he was a good antagonist in that. I thought he was pretty decent. You put him in. There was a terrible movie. I once saw like an early screening of some movie that he wants to be like a bodybuilder, and man, it was such a depressing and annoying movie. But with all of that being said, I think that his acting was decent in the movie. I didn't like the movie, but I thought that his acting was pretty good in it in spite of me not liking it. However, Loki, once he was in there, didn't buy him. I don't even know. Like, I feel like again in Loki, they had this other, what's her name? Fuck, I can't. Oh, fuck, what's her name?
Female Loki? You're talking the female Loki?
Female Loki. What's
Sylvie.
Sylvie.
Stupid name too. Sylvie. Couldn't stand that shit. Couldn't stand that shit with Sylvie. They lost me with Sylvie. Too much Sylvie for me. I don't want to see that character. I don't give a fuck about her. Everything here, they made it. Used to be that Loki was this kind of like, mischievous villain guy, and they just made him into a complete joke on this thing. The only thing I can say is I like I think Jonathan Kwan, or I think he calls himself like Kihu Kwan, or what he calls himself now.
I just call him Short Round.
And for me, he'll always be Short Round. So
yeah,
when I saw him in it, I kind of like the actor, and it's nice to see him. But man, this was just shit. That I don't even like. Sometimes Owen Wilson annoys me. I didn't even mind him in this role. I like what's his name, Tom Hiddleston as Loki. I like.
He's great.
I thought that surprisingly, especially in season 1, his banter with Owen Wilson, I thought was pretty funny. And I like, Short Round. If you would have done a cool show with the three of them doing something interesting, and something. Maybe there was something to enjoy there, but all these ladies and this Kang, which was acting so poorly, it just didn't do it for me. It was so shitty. You like this, Mark? You enjoyed it?
No. I mean, I liked the last episode. I thought, or it was interesting, but I think I could have just almost like they did with the Punisher. You could have like a half-hour show. And one thing I wanted to mention too was the Punisher is Loki is a female. In the comics, Odin punishes Loki and makes him and turns him into a woman as punishment in the comics about 15 or 20 years ago.
Yeah, but everything you can imagine happened at the comics at one point or another.
Oh,
you have to
yeah,
look at the comics that sold well.
Could you imagine them doing that today? I was just like, as punishment, you were
no.
But I mean, I think that the bits that were fun were the alligator Loki. That's the second. That's the
yeah.
second season, right?
I did like alligator Loki.
The old school Loki. So there were a couple of bits and pieces, but the whole story was just so
it was
ridiculous. And Loki's a joke. And but I did kind of like. I'm remembering now some bits of that very last episode or the last few minutes, but it was so confusing and trying to figure out. And I've never liked the Time Variance Authority. I've never liked it. Reading in the comics, reading about it in the Fantastic Four. Don't get mad at me, Walt Simonson. I do love your artwork and most of your stuff, but it was so hokey in the FF. It was ridiculous. Yeah, they're having fun in the comics, but then to bring it into the Marvel mainstream, and the only reason they're doing that is because when they screw up, they can bring a character back and character deaths that have no meaning then, because then
well, that's the thing. I'm so sick of all this multiverse time travel nonsense. It takes away any sense of stakes for anything now. I don't care about any Marvel because nothing matters. They can just go to a new universe or go back in time and fix it. Like once you open that can of worms, you're stuck with it. And now it takes away the impact of any event that happens in the universe, and I just don't care.
Yeah. And I'm reading on the credits of the Punisher, and then created by Jerry Conway. We should mention he did just passed away last week. Jerry Conway, John Romita Sr., and Ross Andrew. And they also thank Mike Barron, Tony Zinga, Steve Dillon, Garth Ennis, who Garth Ennis is considered to have the definitive modern Punisher run. Bill Everett, who one of the pioneers and created Namor, Klaus Johnson, Stan Lee, Jimmy Palmenti, and Joe Quesada. So at least they do give credit to the artists and writers in these. But if you really want to read some great Punisher, pick up some of the Garth Ennis trade paperbacks. Just some amazing stuff. Punisher Max, just phenomenal. I could remember every month waiting to get my hands on the next Punisher comics. They were so good, but this tries to capture some of that, but it's just a miss because you don't have that, like you said, you don't have that motivation. Like he's trying to protect that little girl, but it's just so convoluted. The setup is so convoluted that it doesn't.
There really isn't.
And I have to say something very interesting. You were talking about Walt Simonson, right?
Yeah.
So I suddenly remembered that there's a lady called Louise Simonson, and I remembered that
his wife.
Yeah, so I remember that there was something that she was actually involved in Wolverine. Wolverine, she's the editor of the first Wolverine limited series, which is a comic book that I happen to have.
Very good.
Yeah, so she was called Leslie Jones then, but now she's called it's not Louise Jones then. Now she's called Louise Simonson because she married Walt Simonson later. So it's interesting that if I wanted her to autograph my comic book, she'd probably autograph it as Louise Simonson, not as Louise Jones, even though in the comics she is Louise Jones. You get what I'm saying?
No, she would probably autograph it Louise Jones Simonson.
It's weird though that I never thought of this, that we're always so busy with men signing that I never thought what happens if a lady gets married and now she has a different name. It's like, no, you can't say a different name now. It says on the comic Leslie Jones. You better sign as Leslie Jones, lady.
Show me your ID. Where's your ID? Yeah.
Okay, so I know her. She was born in my town.
Oh wow.
and I've met her a dozen times. Like, and
At
she is a
conventions
woman,
or just
and
in
she
town?
was very good. Like, she was excellent. She did a great job. That Wolverine mini run is just a perfect example
One
of
of my favorite
comic book
comics. Yeah.
excellence. No, I know her because she does a lot. She used to do a lot of conventions here because she lived here. Like, so I'm assuming she's like, she'd come back to see friend. I mean, I assume she worked in New York, but she was born here, and so she was always at like Dragon Con and stuff.
By the way, that same Wolverine comic has the opposite situation happen. That I think that Glynis Ween,
Oliver.
Oh yeah, she
right? She was
married.
married. She was
Yeah.
married to Len Wein,
Yeah.
and then they got divorced in the early '80s. So I think that if she signed it today, she would sign as a Glynis Oliver, even though she was Glynis Wein when she did it. And again, it's the reverse situation with Simonson. But it would annoy me because I'd be like, "Lady, I don't care. I don't
Yeah.
give a shit that you divorced him years ago. It says Wein here on this comic."
Yeah. We just get Louise Simonson to sign it. Just sign it Wheezy, because that's her nickname. Yep. We sign it Wheezy. Yep. And I've seen them at they're fantastic at panels. Terrificon, if anyone is up in the Northeast or Connecticut, New York area, it's worth taking the trip to Terrificon, and I think it's August or late July. But really phenomenal, smaller convention. But Simonsons are always there, and they have great guests, and it just doesn't. It's not the overload that New York City is. You can see everything in one day, and the panels never sell out. You can get into every panel that you want, and it's just a really great show. So, and it's at the Mohegan Sun, so you can, you have a great place to stay and eat pizza and do whatnot. I won't say what, but yeah, it's a really fun convention without some of the hassles that. Even though I do go to New York City every year, and I do enjoy that, but it's just. It's a lot of fun at Terrificon, and you can really spend a lot of time with some of these artists there. It's a little bit somewhat less crowded. Although Claremont and Walt Simonson, the last couple of years, I haven't been able to get him to sign anything because he's so popular. His line fills up so fast.
Oh yeah, I had that with who did the first original Teen Titans? What's his name? Perez.
George Perez, yeah.
Yeah, I was in line for 3.5 hours. They didn't even move. I had a stack of books. So, Louise Jones, that's her married name from when she married artist Jeff Jones. She was actually born Louise Alexander.
Oh, okay. So Jeff
She married Walt in 1980, and even though we call her Wheezy, she still signs everything Louise Simonson. So
there we go. Yeah, I have a great George Perez story too. So back when my son was like 4 or 5, the local comic book shop, which is a hole in the wall place. It was a timeless journey in Stamford, Connecticut, but very small. Great, we loved the owner and everything, but very very small shop. And somehow he knew George's agent, or so he got it set up. And the deal was, well, you have bring 5 books, get them signed. You can get back online and rotate through. He was going to stay for like 2 or 3 hours, but. So I brought my kids there, and my son Charlie. I'm like, well, he's the guy, that artist that created Cyborg. I said, maybe you could ask him to draw a picture of Cyborg for you when we get there. And so we get on the line, and with like the cute little like 4-year-old voice, like, Mr. Perez, could you please draw me a picture of Cyborg? And my son was cute little kid, and he looks, he's like, Charlie, what's your name? Charlie. He's like, my manager told me, we're really not supposed to draw any sketches here, but you asked me so nicely. He's like, I just can't say no to such a young, polite fan. So he draws this, great picture of Cyborg, and he's like, I just want to let you know that he's not going to look exactly like he does on the Teen Titans cartoon, which you probably watch. My version of the comics is a little bit different. He's like, oh, thank you so much, Mr. Perez. And then the next guy comes online, and it's like another young kid's like, can you draw me a picture of, Dick Grayson or Robin or whatever? And George is like, screw it. Everyone online, you get one sketch only. And he drew sketches. So like Charlie was a hero, and like everyone was like high fiving. And like, cause we all got and George stayed. And then finally at the end, we kept like going 5 books. He's like, how many books you got there? I got 20. He's like, just give them to me. I'll just sign them all. You don't have to go flip around the line again because they're only like 20, 20 people. I'm like, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I had him sign a bunch of FF covers that he did. I was looking for some obscure stuff, but just such a nice guy. And he was known for that too, George Perez, that he would, sign.
Was it all
sign
with the
forever.
CGC, or you just had him sign it?
Just had him sign it. Yeah, just had him
No,
sign
you,
it.
you know why I ask? Because once, like, I was on one of those like eBays or whatever, and I bought the number one. I have the number one Wolverine of the limited series, but then I bought later, like, one that was like the first one, not from the first series, but from the later series. Maybe it's from the '90s. I don't even fucking know. It's
Yeah,
like a
it's got
later one.
yeah, no, it's Wolverine #1 with there's all the skulls on the cover,
I
and
think that's the one, yes. So in any
yeah, yeah.
case, that one had Chris Claremont's signature on it, and I believe it is Chris Claremont's signature on it. The only catch is they didn't grade it. But if today you wanted to grade it, he couldn't, all he could do was maybe say, "Yep, that sure is my signature." You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
you can't.
can't prove it.
You maybe he'd have to sign again, or like sign over it. I don't even know. So it's kind of a bummer that having signatures doesn't really mean much. But the one thing that I am proud of, and I've said it before, is that I do have the first Wolverine. Really, it's such a great cover. This is, I'm not like
I
as
love
much of a
that.
comic book guy as you guys are. I do like comics, but I guess I'm not as much of an expert as you guys. But I've always loved this cover. I've loved
Yeah.
this cover, and
Frank Miller, yeah, it's
Yeah,
amazing.
all four of them, all four of the covers were awesome. And listen, I read my comics and I tossed them in a box. I did put them in bags, but I wasn't as delicate with them as they should be. But I've got all four of these first printing because I bought them when they came out. And what you do if you get an autograph and you can get a selfie or a picture of the person while they're signing,
That's what I do.
that
Yeah.
that can actually mean more money. Yeah.
And then I also have, like, when he came to Timeless Journey, whenever an artist was there, Paul would put out like a little flyer, like, "Come meet, George Perez." So I made copies of those and put those in the book to show that
Yeah.
I was
Yours
there.
is a
But
Who's
9/8
Mike
price?
Barron though? Who's Mike Barron? Do you guys know?
he's a Mike Barron is a famous. I don't know, is he artist or writer? I know Mike Barron. Yep. Let's see.
I mean, I don't mind having anybody on this show, but I mean,
Oh yeah. He was Mike Barron. What did he write?
he'll
Let's
he'll,
see.
he'll hear.
He's
A
a he's,
Badger or
he's a
Steve
writer.
Wilkes.
He wrote novels and comics. But
Flash,
It-
right? Yeah.
He'll hear a few
Yeah.
stories from Mr. Phobos and run away.
did you is yours a 9.8 price? Is that your Wolverine?
Yes, mine is a 9.8. This isn't mine
Wow.
physically, but mine is a 9.8. Has some cool signatures on it. I totally threw
very
you under
nice.
the bus, Mr. Phobos, but you weren't even paying attention.
No, I probably wasn't. Sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
I had
Florida
to
Man.
do
We
something.
Barron did Florida Man. I read that comic. Yeah, he did Florida Man. Yeah, he's kind of on the quote unquote conservative side, maybe. Yep. So some of his writings. Yeah.
I have a little bit of a hot take on Frank Miller when it comes to his art. I think without Klaus Janson doing the inking, I don't think his art's that good. With Klaus Janson, it's like peak comic book stuff. Very dynamic, excellent. But I think I've seen his raw sketches, man. He doesn't do his inker any favors. Like you need to be a brilliant inker to go over his panels.
Well, we
Yeah,
kind of took a few detours here, and now that we have,
How did we get here, Bryce?
I don't know how we got here, but there was a
That's
movie
a
that I
variety
saw.
show tonight.
It was an early screening. I saw Tuner. It's a new movie, and I saw it, and I want to go over it now.
I want to hear about it.
Never heard of
So,
it.
First of all, there was at least a very brief moment in the movie that I unfortunately thought of you as the Phobos, and that's because Dustin Hoffman was in it, and I think that once we had a conversation that may or may not have upset some people, maybe rightfully so, that I had said that I thought that Dustin Hoffman was canceled for no reason, at least in my opinion, and maybe I didn't know the full story. I don't really know. I know that there's some rumors or some things that he did, like, 50 years ago. From what I knew at the time when we were talking about it, it didn't seem like whatever I heard was much of a big deal. But I'm not suggesting that I know everything. You know what I mean? I'm not like, I'm not like a know-it-all. I don't know everything that happened in the world. All I know is that generally speaking, and this is my instinct, and you could say this is a shitty instinct, and you're a shitty person, and maybe you're right. But if there's a guy who's like in his 70s, and you're like, hey, do you know that in 1974 he once like put his hand on a lady who said that she didn't want him to put his hand there, and then he like removed it? To me, this all sounds like weird shit. Even if, let's say, it was worse than that, he was like a womanizer, and he flirted with all the ladies in the 70s, and I don't know what, and maybe he was a bit handsier. Whatever you want to say, I don't really know anything concrete. Like, it's also very difficult when ladies come 50 years later, and also with accusations that most of them, from what for the few ladies that came forward, seemed rather, you know, I don't want to dismiss anything and say like that they sounded mild, but I'm saying that,
Well, it's tough to prove anything 30 years later. There's a
Yeah,
reason.
but listen, if he put his hand on your leg and you didn't want him there, and it was 1950, you were lucky he didn't punch you, because the guys did that back
And
then, right?
we would be against that very much, Mr. Phobos.
Absolutely.
This is exactly what we wouldn't want here on the Night Owl. The one thing we wouldn't want on the Night Owl was for him to do that in the 50s. I wanna make
No,
it
we
clear.
would not.
I also, even the ladies from the 70s, I'm not dismissing it, okay? You have to see two sides of it, and you can't just like completely dismiss it. I'm just saying that it's very difficult 50 years later to come up with stories, which again, none of the stories, as far as I recall, involved anything beyond him being like, maybe, a bit, I don't know what word I'm looking for here. A bit aggressive, a bit something. Sure, it doesn't paint him in a positive light. Again, there's isn't like a million. You know what I mean? There's a few ladies that said something about that happened like 50 years ago. Is that enough to like ruin the guy's career and cancel him? They sure tried. They tried making it so you won't see him in a movie for the past like maybe 10 years. And he's not like 20 years old either. So if he had a few good roles in him, like still that you could see him, and he's a really good actor,
But
you
is
forget
this
that because
something
they pretty much
concrete, or
didn't
is
want
this
him anywhere.
just a rumor about Dustin Hoffman? Because I haven't heard anything about
Well,
Dustin
they're
Hoffman.
like
There was
three
floating in the background.
there are three allegations, and then one other more serious accusation that is I think didn't stick, because like nothing about it added up. So
Yeah.
Well, I mean, again, it's let's put it this way. In some cases, it could be, you can say, where there's smoke, there's fire, and things like that. And I wanna be more reasonable and more measured in what I think. But I'll still say, if there's a lady, let's say, that waited 50 years, and suddenly she got up and was like, hey, in the 70s, like blah blah blah, it didn't look like this lady, at least, one case that was more reported on, didn't look like her life was like derailed because of it. You know what I mean? It looks like just some weird nonsense.
uh,
I'm just some random dude, and I remember, I maybe was at a party that some lady was like, inappropriate or whatever, which like I don't know. It doesn't really. I think men approach this kind of situation a bit differently. So sorry.
Yeah.
Now I'm like the Phobos. I'm not gonna get out of this.
no,
Now you're in
Uh,
trouble.
listen, every married couple I know says, yeah, we've been married for 35, 40, 50 years. All my friends. If we had met today, the guy would probably be in jail. Like, you cannot judge the past by the standards of the
especially like
present.
50 years ago. It's like the norms and how people acted in society 50 years ago was very different.
Yes.
Back in the day, I mean, I don't know I'm gonna be honest, I don't know what, like, parties are today with young people. I don't say this as a guayas, I absolutely just don't know, because 'cause I'm not young and I don't really go to parties, so I don't know. But to tell you that, like, 50 years ago in the '70s, if you went to parties, like, and this is already, it's not an era that I went to parties. It's not an era that I went to parties because
You didn't go to any
Uh,
key parties
I,
back in the
yeah.
70s?
but
Wait,
I'm saying that I'm
I
pretty
did.
sure that if you were in the '70s, especially again the early '70s, early to mid '70s, if you went to a party and you like, today brought a bunch of like people to document it from like 2026, people wouldn't believe their minds like what they would see at this party. It is
Oh, I
probably
agree. Yeah.
shit that you couldn't even imagine. Like you said, a million cases would open up
Yeah, yeah.
from like one party. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and Price, do you know when norms were also different? 1860. Just saying.
Are you doing the Pale Rider again?
No, I'm just saying 1860
Pale
had different
Rider was
norms.
pivotal
I'm saying nothing.
The mother with Pale Rider was age appropriate. It's what everybody thought was reasonable, and you did too. And we
Yeah, I
agreed.
said nothing about Pale Rider. I just said 1860 norms. I don't even know when Pale Rider is supposed to occur.
I don't know either. I hope we're
It
not
could have
going
been
back to the Pale Rider
1870s.
thing, because Pale Rider, him being with the mother lady, is exactly where he needed to be. He didn't need to be anywhere else.
No, he needed to be in church holding a sermon because he was a preacher, damn it.
Yep.
Rice was at Studio 54. I wish I was at. I feel like those parties are probably the wildest parties that were ever.
Okay, I've been to some of these parties. Imagine. Yeah, they were exactly, I think, how you would imagine they would be. And if you took a film crew there now, you absolutely would not believe it.
Yes, and people would have like scandals and shit. It wouldn't be like I'm telling you that the norms were so different in the 70s. Maybe it doesn't excuse it, and again, I want to look at it from different directions. But I do think that suddenly piling up on Dustin Hoffman during that whole movement and making him like this big bad guy. Like you said, there's three ladies that it's so much like a vague thing that I don't really know that you could even how to even address it or whatever it is. One of the things that were said about him, which again, don't know if it's true or not. It's very difficult, to come many decades later and say something. One of those things sounded more like, let's say problematic than the others. There were like three or something, three or four or whatever it was, that a few of them sounded very kind of their time. I want to call it, as bad as that sounds. And one sounded like, problematic. But none of them, all of them were very vague. None of them was anything that anybody could, I don't know if to say none of them was anything that anybody can prove, but I don't know, I don't really know what to tell you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, believe me. Listen, that stuff is wrong. You should never, you should never behave badly. But my thing is, if you wait 50 years before you come forward, it would be sort of naive of you not to expect a large degree of skepticism.
Kodo Rom 22 says, glad Price wasn't seen at a P. Diddy party. This is a very complicated thing, because I once, and I think that I've said it here before. Did I ever say it? I'm sure I did. I'm sure I said that. I told people that I was once at a party where it wasn't P. Diddy's party. Okay. Did I ever tell? I probably shouldn't say anything. I probably told it and I regret even telling it, and I probably shouldn't mention it again, even though I don't know if I ever mentioned it. Did I ever talk about the P. Diddy party or whatever?
I can't remember, so you better tell us again.
Okay, so basically, many years ago, I worked at some company. It's a very long story, and it had to do with entertainment, and I was trying to kind of build myself up, do some networking and things like that. And I heard that there was going to be some party at some club, and I thought it was interesting. And the rumor is that the party was like, it's not P. Diddy's party, but he would make like a guest appearance. Maybe he'd like perform there or whatever. Honestly, I couldn't care less about him or his music. Not then and not today. You know what I mean? Couldn't care less. But the kind of like industry people that could be hanging around something like this, that I thought maybe as a networking event or something like that. Now, honestly, I was so kind of like clueless and not understanding the whole situation that I got in touch with somebody, the people that maybe own that venue or something like that. And I said, hey, I want to be on the guest list. I want to make sure, like, I'll get the royal treatment. I don't know what I said. Not that anybody gave me the royal treatment. At best, maybe I wouldn't stand online and they'd let me in and I probably wouldn't pay any money or whatever it is. Because, I worked at some company that it would make sense that maybe somebody would be a little nice to me, even though not really, So I called the people that own this place, and they said, are you sure you wanna go to this party? And I'm like, yeah, why wouldn't I? And they're like, I don't know. Are you sure you want to go there? I'm like, yeah, why wouldn't I go there? So I'm like, okay, no problem. We'll put you on the list. I'm like, okay. I get to the party, and again, I arrived. I wasn't really looking at the line. Maybe there was like a different entrance or something like that. And I arrive, and there's like some guy that looks like a big, sort of Russian man. I want to say Russian. If he was
Like
Ukrainian, like
Dolph
you could have.
Lundgren looking type,
What'd you say?
like a Dolph Lundgren,
Yeah,
big
one of those
dude.
kind, one of those kind. And
Yeah,
then,
yeah.
he said in kind of a somewhat of a Russian accent, he asked me if like, he's like, "Oh, you're here? Like you want to come into this party?" And I'm like, "Yes, yes, I'm here. I'm here for the party." And like, I'm thinking, what's up with all this fucking attitude? You know what I mean? What do these guys
Yeah.
want from me? Like,
It's
yeah,
just a
I'm here.
party, right?
Yeah, I'm here to the party. There's a party. I'm here. I'm here for this party. Like all thinking this Russian Dolph Lundgren and I, in a second he's gonna slap me like slap me to the next block, but he's like, fine, whatever, you asshole. Like, sure, you want to go in, go in. So like I go inside and I'm like, yeah, fuck that guy. Like I'm at the party. Yeah. Diddy is gonna show up and perform, and like I'm Mr. Networking. I'm so this is such a weird thing. I should never even speak about this. So
Uh-oh.
I walk in, and maybe I took like, a number of steps, and I'm sort of in like the place. It's probably a club that holds maybe like 1,000 people, and it is packed. But there's one thing that I realized upon my entrance into this party. Do you know what it was?
You're the only dude there.
You're the only white dude there.
It's the Phobos. Even though you're not PC and kind of a jerk, you are correct.
Oh, I lose.
That is exactly what happened. And then I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, now I get why people thought that I probably shouldn't be at this party. But I will say that it was a strange experience because you don't really know what to think of that moment. I mean, it's weird because this could happen to anybody of any background, maybe sitting in a room of everybody that's like the different background. It's just something. I've never been in a situation like that, and I can appreciate if somebody comes along and he's like, not like all the other people, and he's there. I can sort of appreciate whatever that experience is, just because I kind of was in that situation briefly. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And
but I don't get why that makes me a jerk just because like I got it right.
because you're always thinking of the shittiest thing, only this time it was. No,
Listen,
but but here's the funny thing. The thing is, I stood there for a second, and then I'm kind of thinking to myself, maybe I better leave this place. Like maybe I'm not in the right place. And it did cross my mind. It felt very strange for a second to be there. Also, because I think the second I was standing there, a lot of people were looking at me. And
How'd he get in here?
what'd you say?
yeah,
No, like how'd he
yeah.
get in here?
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I think
All
I
right.
think that I think I'm just kidding. Of course, it's the Phobos. I
Yeah,
don't think
yeah.
Yeah,
you're a
yeah,
jerk.
yeah. Have you heard of LaFace Records?
It sounds familiar, but let me continue this thing. In any
Okay,
case, I'm just
okay.
joking. I hope you know it's the Phobos. It's just
Yeah,
fun banter. I don't
yeah,
think you're a jerk. I
yeah,
think you say
yeah, I get
things
it.
that probably like are over the top, and sometimes I wish you hadn't said them. But it's not that I don't like you. So
Yeah.
just to clarify here, also to our listeners,
Real quick, I
relatively.
worked in the office right next to the biggest rap label in the country. It's called LaFace Records. So I know a little bit about what I'm talking about.
Ah, I see. So maybe that's how you knew. In any case, I was there, but I will say this: a few people. First of all, they were people were looking at me. Few people that saw me, and I have to give props because this was very nice. A few people came up to me and were super nice to me, like, "Oh, hey, man, it's so." They don't know me. They're just like, "It's good to see you." I think that a few people probably thought to themselves, "If this weirdo came to our party." Maybe he's all right. You know what I mean? Like they weren't mean to me. It was actually a situation that people came up to me and were very nice to me. So I have to say that not only that were people nice to me, but then I feel like throughout the evening most people were nice to me, if not all of them. Like I didn't feel any kind of bad vibes of like, what's this guy doing here? What's this guy doing? It was the exact opposite. Actually, everybody was super nice to me. And at the end of the day, people were waiting because they thought, I guess, that Diddy would show up. I don't know. I think that he was like still Puff Daddy then, or maybe it was Diddy. I don't know. He was supposed to show up. They thought he would perform a song or something like that. At some point in the evening, uh, what usually happens in events like this is that somebody like Diddy is offered a money like a money deal. You know what I mean? Somebody says, "Hey, you stop by this party, you'll get an envelope." I don't know if today it's like that, but at the time you'll get an envelope. It has like 20, 30 grand, whatever it is. There's some envelope with cash in it. You're going to get it. You walk in, do something. Maybe you grab the mic, address the crowd. Maybe you do one song. I don't know what. You take the envelope, you run away. You know what I mean? Or if he feels like it, he gets like a VIP table. There's a bunch of people like kissing his ass and giving him like the fanciest drinks. Sometimes something like that
Yeah.
too. Are you with me?
Yep.
So at some point in the evening, he walks in, and I only saw this in the corner of my eye. He walks in, he's there for something that seemed like a minute, and then walks out and leaves. Like he probably came in, collected the envelope, did like a hello with one hand, and just got the fuck out of there. And honestly,
Wow.
I didn't really care one way or another. I just, I at this point were just like, I don't even know what I'm doing here. You know what I mean? This is like in my story where I'm the Forrest Gump of the entertainment industry. This is a scene in that movie. You know what I mean? So I'm just enjoying it for whatever it is, and everybody's super nice to me. And actually, the only person they were grumpy about was about him because like it's sort of disrespectful. You know what I mean? They all came out thinking that this guy. Now today we hear that and we all laugh, but like back in that time, he was considered like a bigger name and like he's cool. He came to the party and whatever, and he just comes in and out, and everybody like wasn't happy with him. You know what I mean? Like people kind of were disappointed. Keep in mind they paid money to be there. I don't even know how why I was there. You know what I mean? Like they paid money, they did all this stuff. Like they all came to see him. I had a whole different agenda there, so I don't care that he walked in and walked out and took the envelope and left. But I think they didn't like it.
Yeah, show up for 1 minute. It's like, come on, give us
Yeah, like
give
nothing,
us a little
nothing.
something. Yeah,
He
like at least
he
work
could.
the room for a half hour or something.
Right,
Yeah,
I mean,
but
sit there, have drinks, grab the mic,
yeah,
I've seen different variations of it. There's something usually what a guy if he's not like a complete douche and if they paid him a few dollars, what a guy does is this, like, you do, like, these type of acts. I don't know if today it's still like that, but back in the day, what it was like is there was something called a track over. Usually, what's the problem with putting on a show? You need to have, like, a DJ, you need to have maybe in the case of rap, really, that's all you need because maybe dancers or whatever, because you don't need any instruments usually. It's all like samples and whatever bullshit.
yeah,
But basically, even a show that you have a rapper, it's like still a show. He has dancers, he has things going on. There's weird things, there's sound, or whatever. Now, then there's something called a track over. Track over is the DJ, the house DJ, whoever the DJ is already in house, puts on the song, and then he just like raps over it. And then like somebody would have put, let's say, one of Diddy's crappy songs on, and then like he would have gone like yeah, yeah, you know what I mean, into the microphone while drinking some like Hennessy or whatever he drinks,
yep.
and or in his case Ciroc. I think Ciroc was his brand, right? His
I don't
brand of
remember, but they all were getting into alcohol and
Yes, but there was something with Ciroc, if I'm not mistaken, that when they launched Ciroc vodka or whatever the fuck it is, it was like his brand. But then he had an issue. He had a fight with them. Some people think his whole downfall happened because of the vodka, because the people that owned the vodka wanted to, had some kind of legal dispute with him. And then, like, in order to get rid of him, they just said, "Oh, like, did you know that Diddy has done all this terrible stuff?" And suddenly, like, he was in trouble. You know what I mean?
yep,
Basically, somehow, rumor has it that because of something with this vodka fighting with the partners, ended up him, getting in all the trouble that he got. Not that he was not. He probably, I'm saying that he did do things, but the only reason at the end that something like pushed it over the line is some argument over this vodka thing. And yeah, at the end, I left the party, and that was it. There was some nice people there. I will say again, people were very, very nice to me. Like seriously, it was a nice experience, and maybe it shows you that anybody could get along anywhere. It was an educational experience for me. So
Yeah, can I be cynical for a second?
sure, you're going to say the shitty thing now. What is it?
No, no, they all thought you were a lawyer.
I don't know what they thought, but maybe
I
they thought I
do.
was a lawyer. But no,
Yeah.
I'm telling you that it felt like a genuine, very, very nice to me. Like they didn't have to be nice. It felt genuine. It didn't
Yeah.
feel phony. I'm good at reading. I'll tell you this. I've been in a lot of rooms with phony people. The people at this party did not feel phony to me. They like people were extremely nice to me, and I will still say that.
Yeah. Well, I
don't
mean,
have any
that's
reason to lie.
good.
I don't have any
There
reason
were,
to lie. I can only tell you
yeah.
the truth, and they were very nice to me. So
Well,
I'm just
they
being
were probably nice people and they were having a party and a good time. Like, honestly, I wouldn't see any reason why they wouldn't be nice to you. But, you know, that's, I'm glad it was, I'm glad they were nice to you, because if they weren't, you would have felt way more awkward.
I guess so, but you know what? That just shows that sometimes you gotta look at the good
Yeah.
sides, and be kind of positive. I don't really know how to
Yeah.
explain it. In
I
any
have
case,
to know, how did we get here from the tuner?
I don't know, but I will get to the tuner in a second. I have two other things with Diddy, but I probably won't get into. I'll I'll say one thing. A number of years later, I was working in I had something to do with like event planning, sometimes big events or things like that where you need talent, you need people, and somebody that was a client or whatever you want to call it that was doing an event wanted Diddy to be at their party. Okay, they wanted this to be like a Diddy party, not the ones with the oil, but like a more I don't know if it's more corporate, but you know what I'm trying to say, like an official event, not like a public event. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like where he'd appear, maybe perform or whatever it is. And they had me reach out. They really wanted this, and I actually reached out, from what I recall, to his people, and I said, "Hey, there's real money here. There's real this and real that, and maybe it was like a big event. Maybe you can do the thing. He'll be like the artist or whatever. Between you and me." Never listened to a song by this guy. I couldn't care less about his music. That's the truth. Really not my cup of tea. But I don't argue with what people like. You know what I mean? If other people thought he was cool, then who was I to tell them not to? So at the end of the day, I said, okay, there's interest here, there's money, there's this and that. And it all was moving along. Now, if this would have happened, I probably would have had to have supervised it. So it would have been a situation that for a few days, I would be hanging out with him. Are you with me?
Yeah.
Had the deal gone through. But what happened was is that he had some weird demands that if there's an event, it at the time you had to like have ads for his, vodka for that Ciroc thing. If I think it was called Ciroc, you can Google it. I think it was called Ciroc and it was his vodka. So you had to have Ciroc. If you don't have Ciroc, that's an issue. And not only that, you have to agree in advance that you're going to order, I don't know how many, like millions of cases of that stupid Ciroc thing. So there has to be like a ton of things, which of course, I don't know if he gets a commission on it. And then like, it has to have sponsorship. It's all these kind of workarounds for how else to squeeze like money out of you. And I think I just told them, listen, he's welcome to come by and do like his. I didn't tell him I thought that the songs were shitty, but you know what I'm trying to say. I said he can do his songs, collect his check and just do the thing. It's a perfectly good gig. Like I'm sure it's fine. You collect the money and everything will be okay. And they're like, nope, it's a deal breaker. Either you get all the Ciroc boxes and do all the Ciroc signs and whatever. And I'm like, nobody's ever going to agree to this. So then they're like, well, then we're not going to do the event. And then I had to go back and say, can't do it. Can't do it. There's no Ciroc and no whatever bullshit, so we can't do it. And then we went in another direction. And you know what? I think that's actually a good thing. You know what I mean? I'm trying to think to myself, did I really want to be hanging out? Like, did I want more interaction than I already got? Like, more direct interaction and to hang out a few days with this situation? I kind of feel like I didn't need that,
Yeah, I don't think you needed that.
I don't know what would have happened had he arrived to this party or this event or whatever it was, but you know what? Happy that it ended the way it did, and never did any other business or anything with him. So all I have is the 1 minute walking in, grabbing an envelope and walking out event, which was strange in and of itself, and the weird Ciroc situation, which ended up going nowhere.
Yeah, well, it took that you what they're like called Diageo or Diageo. I don't know how to say it. They're like the world's biggest liquor distributor. They finally dumped Ciroc vodka for LeBron James's tequila, and they're a lot happier about it because they've been contractually stuck with it for a while. Like nobody really wanted to deal with this stuff.
Yeah, I guess so.
Even before the scandal, just his demands were so weird.
Yeah, and I know people wanted the tuner thing, so I'll get to the tuner. Probably
Yep.
people are like,
I
"Why is
think
this
I've seen the
man?"
trailer for this actually. Now that I'm seeing what you put up on the screen,
People are like, "Why is this man
I think
talking
Paulie was
about
playing
Diddy?"
this
You know
trailer.
what? Let's look at the trailer because people don't even know what this movie is. So let me see if I can find uh tuner movie trailer. Um, is it like? Is there more than one trailer,
I think
or
there's
is there
only
just
one. I've only
okay?
seen one.
Okay, I'm gonna play it now. Are you ready?
Yep.
I'm just a piano tuner, man.
Excuse me?
Yes, ma'am.
The toilet's leaking. I'll give you an extra 100.
What'd she say?
She wants us to fix the toilet.
We're piano tuners. We fix pianos.
200.
500 we'll talk. And repair. This is Nicky B is my apprentice. He has a hearing condition, but believe it or not, he's a virtuoso.
Virtuoso, huh?
Maybe you can inspire him.
Okay, thank you, Harry.
Close your eyes. What's this?
C, F sharp. E7 flat 9. F sharp, G, A sharp, B over D sharp.
You ever take those out?
No. I get hyperacusis. I'm allergic to loud noises. Hello? You know how long you're gonna be? It's loud.
As long as it takes. Unless you can open the safe.
Uh-oh. Yeah.
Oh, really? If you want to make real money, give me a call.
Harry Horowitz.
The outstanding balance is $36,000.
Where are you gonna get all the money?
I'll figure it out. I got you something.
Don't do anything stupid. You understand?
Who are you?
Hey!
Forget it. I'm done.
Harry, with your very special man. And your girlfriend. She has beautiful hands.
What happened to you tonight? Open the safe. Open the safe. Open the safe.
I'm just a piano tuner, man.
Okay, Price, before you say what you thought about this, can I say I think this is going to be good?
Well, I'll tell you what. First of all, I came in with no real expectation, and first of all, I like somebody in the chat said if he had tinnitus, which is like ringing in your ears. I think that he has some form of it, but with him, it's like much worse. Like it's a very severe kind of disorder already that he has.
Well, he's like Daredevil. He said he doesn't like loud noises, right? So
Right.
Yeah,
So
this has more
ear
Daredevil
condition.
in it than Daredevil already.
right, and the thing is that to me it felt like you know I watched the movie, and I'll first of all start off by saying this: I did enjoy the movie. It's a movie. Is it like a movie that I thought, wow, this just reinvented the wheel? No, it's a movie that I feel like back in the day we get a lot of different movies with a lot of different ideas, and some of the things you could say are kind of tropey. There's some heist, there's some this, there's some that, but it's pretty well made. You know what I mean? I think that the setup is pretty good. Um, all the actors, in my opinion, are good. First of all, the guy that plays this guy, this Leo Woodall guy, never seen him before in anything. I don't know who he is. I think he's like an up and coming actor. Thought he was really decent in it. Really thought he gave a good performance. For supporting actors, you have like these, Dustin Hoffman, Jean Reno, Tova Felch, who also she was on The Walking Dead. It's like also these kind of veterans that have been around for a long time. Always good to have, even in smaller roles, like pretty good actors, so you have that. You have this kind of up and comer guy. The guy that played the mobster was pretty good too, like the mobster, this kind of thug or whatever it is. There was some interesting things going on in this movie. it's not perfect. There were some moments that I thought that like the actions of the main character were either sort of careless or dumb in a way that maybe felt a little bit over the top. And I think that there were ways of explaining, better ways of explaining why he did something stupid. If they would have made him a little more like kind of socially awkward or something, there were a few things they could have tweaked that would have made the explanation for a few of his actions seem more legitimate. But again, if you kind of don't nitpick every single development and enjoy the movie for whatever it is, just kind of like for a very decent, in my opinion, popcorn movie, I actually had a good time. I came with no expectations. I left feeling pretty good about the movie. I rather enjoyed it. I feel like if I had to make a list of some of the better movies I've seen this year, again, low bar, but I think this movie would be on it. It was a very, very decent movie, and, I thought that it was well made, and yeah, that's what I
Did
think
it
about it.
it kinda gave me some Good Will Hunting vibes. Did you get that from watching it, or, just from just seeing the trailer, but
There
just,
was a little bit of it. They were trying a few different things here, but, yeah, there's this is exactly, and it's good that you asked this. I feel like he's sort of a savant. I without spoiling, he's really good with sounds, and that's why he's like the best tuner because he's so sensitive because of his disorder. Anything that's like a little out of tune or whatever, he's so sensitive to every sound. And he has like obviously a good memory because if like a lady is playing all these chords, he can tell her which chords they were, how he can break them up, and he does all this stuff. I feel like this point of how much he's a savant wasn't hammered home as much as necessary. And maybe if he was a savant, I would have also showed that like he has some flaws in his logic, that he's like very, sometimes you have somebody who's really talented in one field, but maybe in other fields are a little out of touch or something like that.
yeah.
If they would have fine-tuned that a bit, some of his actions were like, a few moments in this movie, I would have been like, if they would have built that better, I would have accepted this a little more. This was maybe my only real gripe in the movie, but aside from that, if you zoom out, and I am a very nitpicky guy. I'm very, very nitpicky. If it's just a matter of like you're hanging out, you want to see a good popcorn movie, one that feels almost like an old school movie, it's not trying too hard to do a bunch of weird shit. It has like a guy that's making this movie that feels like he knows exactly what movie he wants to make. Something of like, I would say that this seems kind of like an indie movie, but an indie movie that's like decent. It's not one of those indies that like they're walking in a field for an hour.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it looks like the characters are all very fleshed out and realistic. And I honestly like, since they love to have, I'm saying when I see her, it's like, yeah, she looks like she's a little hard to deal with, but that's appropriate for her situation. Like I like the way they present the characters in the trailer. So I was just thinking, I think this could be really good. And it doesn't need to reinvent the wheel. We just need like decently made movies like we used to get all the time. So you've definitely sold me on it now.
It didn't feel to me like some weird like woke extravaganza or
Yeah.
anything like that. It was just a movie that wanted to tell the story that it wanted to tell. It felt like a throwback to a time when people made different movies. It's like, you know, today sometimes because we've gotten so many bad movies, we nitpick everything. But back in the day, you walked into a movie theater, you sat down, and if you feel like the filmmakers really wanted to entertain you with a movie, tell some kind of cool story and try something. Some movies maybe you'll like more or less, but there was a fun feeling of seeing the movie. And I felt that this movie, it wasn't trying to like preach to me or tell me things or bother me. It wasn't obnoxious. It just felt like, it just felt like like I said, it was made, crafted by a guy who likes movies and wanted to make a movie that, if nothing else, you could sit with some popcorn and watch it and enjoy it. And yeah, I think it was a decent movie. I would
Yeah,
have
and
to think.
everything's not a superhero movie or big.
No, the
Everything doesn't have
condition.
to be a big tentpole movie or you used to get simple movies like Nick on Toxic Tuesday we did I Love You Man tonight. We're like, yeah, that was and everyone loved the movie, how funny it was, and like you don't get small little simple movies like that anymore. It's always everything's got to be a blockbuster, and I think streaming's to blame for that too, because people like this movie unfortunately, I think a lot of people might say, "Oh, I'll just wait till it's streaming." Right? We're back in the day. If this movie interested you and you wanted to see it and not have to wait 3 or 4 months or a year maybe, depending on when you were looking, you'd go see it in the movie theater. But
Yeah,
a
the
lot
condition
of
he
people
has
wait.
is real. It's called hyperacusis, and it makes it renders everyday sounds unbearably loud, and so it means he has very sensitive hearing, which allows him to really hear musical notes and the overtones, and apparently the inside of a safe mechanism. So, like, that's not a fictional thing; that's a real thing.
No, I thought it was
Interesting, yeah.
cool, and like in a way, I thought that was a cool thing that he could like be an expert in the safes or whatever. I liked how things play out in this movie. It was like I said, it was also anchored by good performances. An actor that I've never seen before that I thought was decent. Uh, if I wouldn't be surprised if we see this actor somewhere else at some point. I think he probably wasn't bad. And yeah,
I
I
would
mean,
watch this. I'd definitely watch this. Yeah.
I I would have to think what grade I would give it, but it's absolutely, it's it's in the 70s, but and I don't even think it would be in like the low 70s. You know what I mean? Like I if I was
Yeah.
very generous, could I give it more? I don't know, but it would be probably in the high 70s.
I'm 75 or up. I'm all in. I know how you grade, and that's a movie worth going. I'm good.
I
Yeah.
also take into consideration when I watch a movie that, just like Mark said, it's not a tentpole thing, it's not the MCU. It doesn't feel like somebody came by and said, "Here's like $200 million." This feels like this feels the opposite. This feels like a movie that probably had a much smaller budget, where somebody said, "Listen, this is all you got. Try to do the best you can with this thing." And then they still made a movie that I thought was good. So when that happens, I already appreciate it. You know what I mean? I encourage that kind of filmmaking. I wanna see more of that.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
something
saying?
different. Even though this echoes, certain movie, you could say it echo. For me, I got that Goodwill Hunting vibe, but doesn't mean it's an exact clone. And you love that underdog story, right? So, you've got the hopefully like a hero's journey and arc here, where the guy's probably down on his luck, and then he's got to, gets romance with a girl. He's got to save the girl. They threatened her hands. She's great at playing piano. So yeah, there's a lot of standard tropes, but if the acting's interesting, and Dustin Hoffman's one of the great American actors, and
Nobody reinvents the wheel here, but you know what?
yeah,
I enjoyed it. I sat there and
enjoyed
I'm
it.
like, there
Yeah.
was nobody came out in the middle and said like, "Hey, like you're a fascist." Like, oh, like what communism is good and all that. Like no weird shit. You get what I'm trying to say? There wasn't
Yeah,
suddenly that like everybody comes out and does like girl boss stuff. Like the characters acted the way you think that they would act, and at the end of the day, whoever made this movie just wanted to make a movie that, if nothing else, is at least somewhat entertaining and a nice way to escape for a few hours. Didn't reinvent the wheel. Competently made though. Competently made, and I actually
yeah,
enjoyed it. I maybe also because I myself I don't have okay, I want to clarify. I don't have what this guy has, because what this guy has is very extreme and like, it's a lot worse, but I have stuff with like my ears and sensitivities and things like that. So for me, I felt it's just like all those like DEI things. I felt seen. I felt represented on screen. But I'm just kidding. It's nothing compared to what this guy has. But I still like that somebody was doing something with it, I guess.
Well, I always bring my earplugs everywhere I go. I have in my backpack, and I'm very sensitive to sounds too. And a lot of my friends have experienced hearing loss because all the concerts we've been to. But I have these special earplugs. Well, they're not that fancy; they're cheap, but they deaden by like 10 to 15 decibels. So whenever I go to a concert, I always throw them in. And like, what are you putting those in your ears for? Like,
You don't go deaf. Jeez,
like,
people.
what did you say, Mark? Yeah, like,
Yeah, hearing doesn't grow back. People don't get that.
once you lose it, it's gone forever.
Yeah, that's why half the musicians you love are deaf and the other half are always wearing earplugs.
Yeah, I got my earplugs ready for Bruce Springsteen on Thursday night. Going to see him in Brooklyn. Yep. But Yeah, I would definitely watch this movie. It looks interesting, but I gotta say, I wouldn't go to the movie. I'd wait for streaming. I'd wait till it streams.
You
Which
live in
is
New York, Mark?
I'm close. I'm about an hour from New York City. Yep, the
Oh,
train,
wow.
easy train to Grand Central, and head to Brooklyn. Yep. So
Interesting. I didn't even know that.
yep.
I'm in
So
Jersey.
oh, you're in Jersey. Yep. So you must love Bruce Springsteen then.
Well, I mean, the thing is that back in the 80s when he had like Born in the USA or whatever, I kind of liked that as a kid. Later I would
Yeah.
listen to some of those like Born to Run or whatever, some of those older songs. I didn't hate it. I've never been like a full-on Bruce Springsteen's fan.
Yeah.
Like he's not really my thing. There's something about his music that comes off, I don't know if to say a bit like, I don't know if cheesy is the word, but he doesn't feel like badass enough for what I usually enjoy personally. But
It
Yeah, I
doesn't
do
have
have a
enough.
confession. When Bruce comes on the radio, I turn the dial.
Yeah.
So I'm getting the reason I'm getting to go to this concert is because with where it's my son and his girlfriend want to see him, and I'm going, and I get to go to Midtown Comics and buy a lot of stuff the next day.
that's
'Cause,
fair enough.
Yeah.
That's fair enough.
Yeah, Springsteen doesn't have enough soul in his music. It's all major scale stuff. He doesn't have enough grit. It doesn't, you know, he doesn't hit that, bluesy, hard, soulful tune very often.
So yeah, he's not very soulful. I mean, it's fine. He does his shtick, whatever he does, it's
Yeah.
fine. I've actually I've said this before, so I don't think I'm getting into trouble. That there was once an event that I was at, and there was something that had to do with the Bruce Springsteen, and he was there, inside the building. He was supposed to walk into this room where people are sort of like did a little cocktail party in his honor, or whatever it is. And then, like, this whole thing is happening, and he got into a car and left. And as one of the people that was in that room, that I really couldn't give a shit anyway. I don't care. It's like
Yeah.
the only reason I really wanted to be in that room was because there was like free beverages and hors d'oeuvres. It's the only reason. It was such good hors d'oeuvres and such good beverages. So it was like top shelf shit, So that's all I cared about. They're like, "Oh, Bruce is leaving." I'm like, "Fuck him."
I have a funny Bruce Springsteen story to tell. I'll make it quick, but we're going. Knowing I'm going to the concert, we're talking last night. My couple over the weekend, and my brother-in-law. It's like I got a great Bruce Springsteen story. So one of his buddies was in Dublin. Oh, I kind of ruined it with the Bruce Springsteen part, but his buddy's in Dublin, and Bono's in town, and it's his favorite seat in the restaurant, his booth. So the owner comes over. He's like, Bono called us. He's coming. Like, hate to ask, but do you mind? Would you move so we can sit Bono here? It's a good spot for him in the restaurant. And the guy's like, sure, no problem. He's like, but do you think maybe I could get to meet him or get a picture with him? And he's like, yeah, no problem. Well, I can't guarantee it, but we'll see how it goes, and we'll ask him. So the guy, later they said, okay, come on over and meet Bono, and just if you want, he said you could get a picture. Thank you for switching the table. So the two guys are there, and the guy gives let me give Bono's friend the phone. So he gives Bono's friend his iPhone. It says can you take a picture of picture of us with with Bono. And so then they're going to leave, a few minutes later, and the owner's like, "Oh, Bono decided to said he's comping your meal or whatever tonight, everything." And he's like, "Why? What? Why is he doing that?" He's like, "Well, anyone that would give their phone to Bruce Springsteen and then ask to have Bruce take a picture, me and him and Bono."
That's kind of funny.
But they had no idea it was Bruce Springsteen that they gave the phone to. So I said, can we get a picture of both of you? So Bono's like, I'm comping your tab for tonight.
That was nicer than when I met them.
That was nicer than when I met Bono as well, who would not shake my hand, but will not focus on that now. That's just the way he is, and you'll hear many people with that story. Your friend, whoever got the picture with him, very, very lucky, because most of the time Bono isn't very nice, in my opinion. That's just the experience that I had. Maybe other people had a different experience, but regardless, Bruce Springsteen. So I will give you one thing that, and I've said this before on this stream, maybe it was like 10, 15, I don't know, 12 years ago. I had a friend call me one day and he's like, I got some good news for you. He's like, I'm like, what is it? He's like, I got 2 tickets for Bruce Springsteen, and you and I are going right now. And I said, like, if you have 2 tickets, you should probably hang up the phone and call somebody else. And I swear that's what I said. And then like, I don't think, I'm not the right guy for this. And he said, no, you got to come. And he said, you never even seen him perform live. It's different than the CDs and different than all this stuff, like different than the records. You'll really appreciate it. It's such a professional show and blah, blah, blah. So, and he's like, I'll pick you up. I'll personally come with my car. I'll take you this and that. You'll take you straight to the place. I'm like, fine, fuck it. Like, I'll go with you to the stupid thing. So I ended up going there. And I will say this, he was super professional, Bruce Springsteen, and it was a very well put together, very professional performance. It's not necessarily like, even if there's stuff that you don't love every song of his, standing there, especially with, at this time, he still had that Clarence guy on I think on saxophone.
Sax, yeah. Clarence Clemens.
Clarence Clemens on saxophone. He had like other people, like a horn section, a lot of really great musicians, really well-produced show. And for whatever it's worth, he brings a lot of energy, at least at the time, brought a lot of energy to the show. I did watch it and think to myself, this is a very professional and well put together performance. It wasn't like, I couldn't just write it off and say, oh, this is like garbage. It was well put together. But did I walk out of there then saying like, oh, I got to listen to all of like Springsteen's like records now? Nope. Did I say I have to go see like 20 more of his shows? Nope. But if somebody asked me if I saw a concert, I will say that I did, and it was very professional. Have to at least give him that. But again,
I've heard that. Yeah, he puts on. Yeah, he goes all out for his concerts, which is I appreciate too. And he plays like 3 hours. He doesn't
or minimum. I've seen him play 4.5 hours. I've seen him several times because my friends like him, and it was less of a deal. Like in the 80s, yeah, man, I'll go to a Springsteen show. His music was better. But man, one time he played like 4.5 hours. They had the lights were coming off. They were cleaning up. They literally had to kick him off the stage, man. It was it was crazy.
Don't tell me that. Sorry. Yeah, just kidding.
Yeah. No. He always treats his fans right. He puts I guess now, unless you're he used to always, give 110% on his shows and always give it all up to the fans. Like,
it is the No
work
Kings,
ethic.
It is the No Kings tour, so I'm wondering if I should bring my King Charles banner.
No, bring a MAGA hat. He'll love that.
I see people throwing here some names of like some controversy. I don't want to even say the YouTuber's name. I know there's a YouTuber with controversy. We're all aware of that. But I've said it before on these streams. I have no issue if some people are really interested in all the drama surrounding that. I just feel like getting involved in that is like, putting my energy in a place that it doesn't want to be. I like to be like positive on my stream and think of positive things. Obviously, I would never encourage anybody to do anything bad to other people that have channels and things like that. That's like not a good thing. But at the same time, I don't want to spend all of my time, dwelling on such controversies and drama all the time. There's I think Estefobos said this recently. There's entire channels that like have risen just talking about this controversy. I have no issue. I appreciate anybody's hustle, and at the end, you want to talk about what interests people, and I appreciate it and I respect it, but it just it's too much like all over the place drama for me. You know what I mean? Now this person is angry. Now that person. Now this person's angry at that person because that person wasn't angry at this person. It's like, man, I understand, but I'm not judging. You know what I mean? I'm not judging people that are reporting on it. I'm not judging people that are really into it. But I myself want to focus like on something else. I don't know if that makes me a bad person or stupid or whatever, but that's just what feels right to me. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it just doesn't interest you, right?
Yeah, YouTube drama is boring, man. I follow it a little bit, but I hate that stuff in general. And you're right. It's not the kind of energy you want to bring to your own channel, so you don't bring it.
Unless it involves you, and hopefully it never does or never will. But I don't want to go back to high school. Maybe that's the wrong choice of words, but just let the people that are dealing with it deal with it, and then if you want to watch that stuff, watch it. But we can't solve any of those problems here, and life is short enough. And yeah, we just like talking about the stuff that we enjoy or critiquing, or I love my comics and Star Trek, and yeah, it's just
Was the professor in the chat here? I see people were saying hi to him, but I don't know what happened.
Yeah, he's yeah, I just saw him. He's
here.
Likely story as to we know you don't have any friends.
Well, hope everything's okay, Professor. But yeah, at the end of the day, that's just my position on it. It's like, also, when something breaks at the beginning, it's a story, but man, it's like it feels like some stories never seem to end, and at the end of the day, I just want to focus on other things. Make of that what you will.
Yeah, it's already felt like it's gone on for months.
It feels like forever. I don't know how long this thing has been going on, but it feels like forever. And again, not judging anybody that likes to do the thing or listen to it. I'm personally, this is if it's exhausting for me,
Sometimes that stuff is kind of fun, I have to say, in a way. It's like, watching a train wreck, or just, there's a human nature where that kind of stuff. And if you're a supporter of one of the creators on the other side, it's kind of like rooting for your team or whatever, and just watching it, so there is a energy there. But
Professor's comment is killing me.
Thank you for keeping me company while I graded some of the worst projects I've ever seen. I'm completely wiped out and headed to bed. See you Thursday. What? Sorry, go on, Mark. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's it. But sometimes it's it's like a guilty pleasure, you could say. Like watching some of the gossip shows, or some of the Hollywood, Hollywood entertainment stuff. It's it's not going to make the world any better, but it's just it's like cotton candy fluff, and you get into it, and it's not all bad. It's just it can be fun in its own way. So I'm guilty of reading some of that stuff sometimes too, and then I got to catch myself and get back to work, right? But
Absolutely. I'm starting to notice that, like, I think we had other stuff on our docket, but I don't know exactly.
The Colbert thing about MSM glazing Stephen Colbert.
Yeah, okay. So we have a few things. We have Christopher Nolan going woke, and MSN and mainstream media glazing Colbert.
Yeah.
Let's start with Christopher Nolan, because we only have a bit to talk about each thing. I guess we talk too much time about Pale Rider's adventures and it's the Phobos's allegedly inappropriate thoughts.
And some inappropriate parties.
Some inappropriate parties that I was not at. I wasn't at the inappropriate party. Just to clarify to any of the people wondering.
You did not bring any lotion.
There was no lotion at the party that I was at. I think we have another super chat. So hold on one second. I'm going to share this thing. I think this one is showing something we talked about earlier, but it says price. First of all, the Real Headcase said earlier for $1.99, let me borrow your Wolverine comic. I think I already said that one. Then we have Price was born to run. Yep,
that's a great one.
Fair enough. I was born to run.
Yeah, you were born to run for mayor of New York, which you didn't, and now we have that guy. So,
I couldn't do it now. I am sorry though. I wish I would have run. I could have just put the puppet somewhere, and that would have been better. But back to what we were.
The Nolan thing. This is still going to make money, but I just can't. What was that guy thinking with the casting? I just
okay. So let's see. He said
it.
something today. Travis Scott. Let's see if I can find.
Yeah, who's Travis Scott cast as in this yet?
He is a bard, and he decided that he decided that Homer is rap music.
Well, I mean, if you're looking for a different interpretation, something new, I mean,
yeah, I remember Shakespeare's. Well, he compared rap to poetry, so I was thinking like of Shakespeare's Sonnets. Let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediments, bitches.
But I mean, Shakespeare was the common tongue of the day, right? Shakespeare, as highfalutin as it sounds, it was actually.
Well, it was common, except people didn't speak in meter. He used their words, but he said it in a way that was just absolutely miraculous. But honestly, like,
did we lose Price here?
Well, we did.
Did he? Oh, we're in charge. Now we can say whatever we want quick, right? Yeah.
No, he's talking about
he's
some.
Back.
Okay.
There we go. Price is back. Yep. No, but I mean, the casting does seem crazy to me, almost ludicrous. He didn't cast Ludacris in it, did he?
But okay, we got a Rumble rant, but when I tried to highlight it, it kind of disappeared.
Oh no!
I'm going to find it. I know what to do. Just keep talking.
Okay.
Okay.
But I mean, think of I was joking, like West Side Story. Let's take people of Latino descent and retell Romeo and Juliet and set it to music, and that's West Side Story. So it depends on what this interpretation is, and it's looking kind of crazy, but
he's clearly sucking up to Hollywood by doing all of this race swapping and genre swapping, and then he's doing his typical weird stuff with the music and sound.
Yeah,
it just seems ridiculous to me. He's still going to make money, but it might kill the revenue for his next movie.
So, Born to Be Down says for $5 on Rumble rant, Price can never play Never Have I Ever game without raising a few eyebrows. LOL, Price at a Diddy party. Again, it wasn't exactly a Diddy party. It was a party where Diddy was supposed to sort of be a guest at, but it wasn't his party. If he had produced that party, that would have been a problem. If it was like Diddy's party, like on his, turf or whatever it is, then like all bets are off, I suppose. But thankfully,
he was just supposed to show up there for a few minutes. Yeah.
Exactly, and he ended up just showing up and leaving. So I guess it was a completely different situation. But I understand how bad that sounds. I do think that, like, again, even if it was the one that he wanted all the Ciroc stuff, I also don't know there that it would have been like, one of his turf type of parties, because it wouldn't have been his turf. But I feel somewhat content that I didn't have to. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think you dodged a bullet there, buddy.
Yes, whatever capacity that was, I kind of feel good that I had nothing to do with it. So his greed with, I don't know if it was personal greed or his people's greed or whatever, with that Ciroc thing actually helped me out.
There you go.
So that was that, and thank you for the $5 super chat. Rumble rant, Born to Be Down. Appreciate that. And then where were we now? We were talking about Christopher Nolan. So
and Travis Scott.
An article where I guess he was babbling about this. If I had to give you my opinion on it, because especially if you see what he's going to say here, do you see this article?
Yeah.
It says Christopher Nolan was dreaming of the Odyssey movie for more than 20 years or whatever it is. And then a lot of just pompous babbling. Let's see if I can find he's great, kissing ass. Let's see where the thing with Travis Scott is.
I wonder how many people think this is a movie about Honda minivans. Does anyone know the Honda Odyssey?
Oh, sorry. I got you.
Yeah. Who reads the Odyssey these days, right? I mean, who the hell knows what the Odyssey is?
I do like Caleb Levine's comment there about Nolan's casting, though. Very, you might not be wrong.
Oh, no.
Because Nolan's casting is spot on. Elliot Page is definitely going to be the movie's Achilles heel.
I thought that was just a crazy rumor. That's actually could be in the running.
No, that's true. And Lupita Nyong'o is Helen of Troy, and not just that, she's also the sister Clytemnestra. So
she's playing two roles.
Yes, she is.
So basically, Nolan also put rapper Travis Scott in the film as a bard. I cast him because I wanted to nod towards the idea that this story has been handed down as oral poetry, which is analogous to rap. I don't think it is. I think it has nothing to do with rap.
Yeah, I agree. I think they like to think that rap is the modern day poetry, but it's not at all.
Here's what I think. I feel like there's some weird syndrome that I've seen recently. There were people that throughout the whole woke era, which has gone on for quite some time, during the peak of the woke era, they kind of stuck to their guns and still just made good stuff, or were making whatever they wanted to make. I think that Nolan certainly was just doing the movies that he wanted to make. I don't think that he overdid it or tried to do a bunch of crazy things. I think he made his movies and that was fine. You had people like South Park that were, there making fun of people doing stuff, and they weren't like, bowing down to all this woke stuff. But I feel like there's like a feeling of at the bar, like a last call for woke, and all these people that until now like ignored it, even like so that they're late to the party and it's past its peak, are suddenly jumping on the bandwagon. Like they don't want, for some reason, I guess, to go down in history as the people that were never woke. And I feel like Christopher Nolan, after he won all those awards for a movie that didn't have, I think, one like diverse person or whatever in it, somebody probably came to him, or maybe like the council of whatever weirdos that exist there in that industry, all like the 12, like I imagine like a Dr. Evil type of room, you know what I'm trying to say?
I was thinking there'd be like, you made a movie with all white dudes, we're gonna give you the Oscar, but your next movie better race swap everybody.
Something like that. So something like you better make like the next movie better be the most diverse things we've ever seen ever. And like he had to somehow like agree to this, and now he's going all in on it. Now, the thing that annoys me is, it's not that I don't have any problem whatsoever with diverse casting. If it's an original story and it's something that takes place like in modern day, where it makes sense that all these different people from different backgrounds would be there in one place, it would make sense. You know what I mean? Like there's really absolutely, in my opinion, nothing wrong with it. Of course, not that you put them there just to have some like, white dude that everybody like tells him he's an idiot. I mean like that it's a fair and square, like, there's a good balance of people and all doing whatever. There's a lot of stuff you can do, and I'm not nitpicky when it comes to that. I really don't care. But when you take something like that, anything that's like a fantasy thing of like supposed to be taking place like a very long time ago and in a certain world, once you start doing like so much diversity, and it just kind of takes you out of it, because you think that it feels like it doesn't ring true that all these people would all be there in these type of movies sometimes.
Yeah, well, it totally doesn't. But the problem, yeah, like you said, if I'm watching a show or a movie and it's about modern day LA, I expect it to reflect the city. But when you're looking at some medieval, fantasy set in 1500s British Isles, it really takes you out of it. When you get an extraordinary way, when Sir Isaac Newton is
Bridgerton, the TV show, is doing that. I was watching.
Yeah.
It was on, and I don't watch. I'm like, why are all these people like? That's the Queen.
Yeah,
like,
but they're super woke in England. They've already been doing that. But it takes me out of it. It also makes it hard to read because you're used to identifying locations and villages by the distinct appearance of population. And but this just feels, I've seen the trailers, it just feels so inauthentic and forced. It's like, Telemachus, he's going like, wait till my dad gets home, he's gonna beat you up. like what the hell? It's modernism infected all over the Odyssey. It no longer feels like a Greek epic. It feels like some kind of modern day LA bullshit.
It's probably still going to make money, as all these stars in it. He's Christopher Nolan. It's going to make his money, and he's going to be like, see, but here's the thing. Will it make as much money as some of his other movies? That I don't know.
I don't think it will.
And I think that always, like, some of this weird ego Hollywood stuff, is I feel like some of these people are like, they all did woke until now because they weren't doing correctly. I'm going to do woke, and in my case, it's going to be excellent, and everybody's going to say how great it is. I feel like every you remember the scene in Indiana Jones with Elsa that she wants to grab the Holy Grail, and then she falls, and then Indy is there, and then he wants to grab the Holy Grail. That Holy Grail is like the woke, making a good woke movie. Like, I can do it. I can do the good woke movie. No, you can't. Don't do it. Don't do it, Christopher. And he's like, no, I can do it.
I think this is going to have one of the biggest second week drop offs you've ever seen in a big tentpole Nolan blockbuster.
Yeah, it may be the case. I don't know what to tell you. I could see this completely flopping, and it's a shame because I like Christopher Nolan. I like his movies, so it's just really a shame that he went in this direction. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. I mean, I'm definitely going to watch it when it comes out. But sometimes somebody grows successful, and at the end, the ego and the arrogance or whatever, it all kind of goes over the top. This may be that moment for Christopher Nolan, but time will tell. We'll see what happens. I mean, South Park also. I don't even know what happened with South Park. I started watching whatever season they had. Every episode was like an episode about Trump. Now, it was fine if they did like one episode about him. That would have been fine. Like, even if they're laughing at him, they can laugh at the president. They can laugh at anybody. It's satire. It's supposed to be funny. But when I felt like every episode was now the same like shtick over and over again with Trump, I'm just like, man, like I'm just tired of this.
Yeah, it's like I was trying to watch late night
if
TV.
you notice, none of these diverse elements are in any of the trailers. You got to ask yourself why that is.
Yeah. But it's also like, you go to watch late night TV, and I remember traveling a few years ago, and I usually don't watch it. Hotel room, like, let me just watch one of the shows, and it was a half hour of like Orange Man Bad. And it's like, and it was so so unfunny. It's like it wasn't even like humor. It was like I'm getting a lecture. I'm like, what the hell has happened to late night TV? I mean, tell some freaking jokes. I mean, or at least you're gonna make fun of Trump. Yeah, give me some good jokes. But I'm like, if I want to put on an opinion show, so that's when the ideology just interferes with everything. And I'll watch this movie, and I'm hoping it's good, but you can't. It's very as a reviewer. I consider myself a reviewer now that I'm on the tubes of you. I got to watch it before I trash it.
Yeah.
But I'll give you my honest opinion of what I think of it. But it's a interesting direction. We'll say that. Yep.
Yeah, I can't wait till the Cyclops come out of the cave, looks up, and he's got orange hair and orange skin, and the Cyclops is like, bears an astonishing resemblance to somebody they don't like.
So speaking, I think we talked about the Odyssey, and really, we'll see over time what happens with it. I will give it a chance, but every bit of information I hear more and more of, it's like Christopher Nolan is begging me not to be excited for the movie. And the one thing I will say, and I want to point this out because I think that this is kind of annoying, every time they show this picture of like Lupita and saying, oh, like, look who they cast, like, in this role, they show a picture of her from a movie that she was just, like, beaten. And, she plays a slave that somebody just, like, beat her up. I don't think that's fair, I think that if you look at her in real life, I don't think that Lupita looks like that. Now, do I think that she's right casting for the role? I probably wouldn't have cast her in that role specifically, but I'll at least be fair and show real pictures of her, not one that, like, try basically the worst
picture ever.
Yeah,
worst picture you could ever find on her ever. One from a movie where she was like beaten up. So I just think that that's like in bad faith, and I've seen that thing being used in memes and stuff like over and over again. I really don't like when things like are not in good faith. You could easily say that you don't think that she's good casting without resorting to that. I said it from day one when that meme was going around. I will.
No, I didn't. I didn't use that picture. I used one from her. She was on a red carpet. So
yeah, no, it's fine. I wasn't implying that you did that. I'm saying that like I saw it going around. I even saw a few people that I knew that I think were just innocent and didn't even know much about her and just retweeted it thinking, oh, this is her. Meaning some people have not done this initially maliciously, but the the people that started spreading the memes initially, the ones that did it, were doing it for sensational purposes, meaning whoever started spreading this thing, there's a thing that was spread initially, was a person acting in bad faith, in my opinion. Some
Yeah,
people later, I think, did it even innocently, but the origin
yeah,
of it is not a good faith meme, if you know what I mean.
yeah. She's an attractive woman, but I don't think she's the face that launched 1,000 ships that countries
100%.
went to war over each other. And like,
100%.
yeah,
It's like I agree with what you said. You know what I mean? Like it's not for me a situation of like if she's pretty or not or things like that. It's a situation of, like you said, if you have like some island with people or some situation with people and there's like one Asian guy, one, black guy, one white guy, one this, one that, you start thinking that this doesn't feel organic to this type of story that it's telling. It's not because I'm a
exactly.
bad person or I don't like seeing people that are diverse or whatever. It's just like it always takes you out because, like you said, especially during those times, like, when it's something more quote unquote primitive or whatever you want to call it, each, group of people was probably limited to wherever they're from. You didn't have that kind of diversity, hundreds of years ago. So if it's something that's supposed to be taking place not in our time, having that kind of diversity just feels forced and not organic to the type of story that's being told.
Yeah, yeah, and especially these days, I'm extra sensitive about losing my immersion. And, I wish I wasn't, man, if I liked crap, there would always be something worth watching, but I'm not that guy. And, for those that don't know, there is actually a 1997 version of the Odyssey that's pretty damn good. It stars Armand Asante as Odysseus. And it's, it's out there, it's available. I think it was a made for TV movie and they did a pretty phenomenal job. And don't forget, they had Vanessa Williams play Calypso. I think, and I forget what it was in, and nobody said a darn thing. And she is a diverse person, but when you look at her, it's like, yeah, I could see her being an incredibly, beautiful, immortal Greek sex goddess. That works for me. It's often it's not.
That was very eloquent, Phobos. You gave a great explanation here.
Well, she's a nymph. I didn't really know if people know what a nymph is anymore.
If you ever want just like the most like well put thoughts, you should contact Phobos. By the way, although I will say that Vanessa Williams, indeed, a very pretty woman, so I won't take that away from you.
I've seen her sing in some concerts. Yeah, she's in some with Christmas concerts.
Yeah. I don't remember one song this lady sings, but I will say that she is not a bad looking lady. I'll give you that.
I will go one step further and say that she is the most beautiful celebrity I've ever met in real life in person. And she was twice as gorgeous in real life. I could barely, I was weak at the knees. She's the most beautiful person I've ever met.
I'm trying to think if I ever met her, and I can't remember now. Anyhow, I thought I met
Christmas album.
I thought I met her once, but it's all kind of fuzzy now, and I don't remember. It's weird because I'm almost sure that I did, and you'd think that I would remember because she is a pretty woman, so I would remember
yeah, she's
that.
hard to forget. And she was Calypso in that 1997 version of the Odyssey. So she is the person that what's her Charlize Theron is playing in the movie, which would be fine if it was 30 years ago. But in
any case, I want to, because we have like 20 minutes here, Stephen Colbert and late night hosts strike again as his show nears finale. So I guess now it's like the situation where they're all kissing his ass, all the other hosts, all these like other mainstream media kissing his ass. I've never seen anything like this. Never have I seen a guy that doesn't deliver results, gets like tens of millions of dollars a year to deliver results, which he doesn't deliver, and then he was basically told, listen, we're not renewing your contract because we pay you a lot of money and you don't deliver results. And then it becomes a situation that he's getting like the biggest and warmest farewell from anybody. It's like, fuck you.
Yeah,
Fuck you.
he's a political martyr now instead of just a guy who failed at his job.
Right. And it's not because like I know one thing. Trump or no Trump, if this guy would have been a guy that like, the president of Paramount, I don't know, that David Ellison guy is sitting around and they bring him like, some report and he looks and he's like, Stephen Colbert made me like $2 billion this year. I don't think Stephen Colbert is going anywhere if he makes him $2 billion
No.
a year. The problem is he's getting paid a ton of money every year and just not generating enough money for it to justify it. It's a show that, in addition to his salary, which is tens of millions of dollars, probably costs like $100 million a year to invest in. And if you're not making back some kind of crazy amount, if this isn't like a staple on the channel, if you're just getting like, less than Greg Gutfeld, who's basically sitting on a couch and like farting, if you're not, making more than that, then you don't have any right to exist. And that's nothing against Greg Gutfeld. I'm just saying, like, Greg Gutfeld, his show is like far less elaborate. You know what I mean? There
It
isn't
doesn't
like
cost much money for that show.
Yeah. Listen, their staff is 20 times smaller than Colbert's, and their budget is 1/10, and they bring in 5 times the audience.
Right.
He's
and
the number
I
one late
understand
night
why.
show now. Yeah.
He basically is just relaxed. He's hanging out there with a few people. He's just talking, whatever. It's much more low key. And he's beating him. He's beating him on a cable network. It is absolutely like insanity.
Yeah.
The guy, like, against all odds, is like destroying him from like sitting on a couch at Fox Studios or whatever it is, at Fox News. It is like, if I were CBS, I would be annoyed as well. You know what I mean? And not because of the politics, not because of all of that, just because the guy isn't delivering results. Now, why do I think that his results went down a lot? Yes, he became obsessed with like Trump. That's all he's been talking about for the past maybe 10 years. And people are sick of it. He was supposed to be a late night show that tells jokes and does all this stuff. And people are absolutely sick of his shit. You can always claim that some of the reason why this industry went down the toilet is because like YouTube was bigger and all this other stuff. And some of that is partially true, but the way that this thing expedited and the way the whole late night like was driven off a cliff quickly, what Colbert and Kimmel have done especially is unforgivable. And here
I think it's your fault, Price. You're taking the ratings away from him. So, yeah, just he's just such an annoying human being. It's just so nasty. And talking about the free speech aspect of it is just so over the top.
Yeah, you have a right to be heard. You don't have a right to have a network television show. And I would say he's not just not delivering results, he is losing them $40 million a year.
Probably,
like, as a shareholder, that was unacceptable.
Of course it's unacceptable.
He's got the same resume as the current mayor of Los Angeles, I think. The same kind of getting
and of New York
attitude, yeah, or New York. Well, yeah, Madame hasn't been there long enough to screw thing. Well, yeah, we'll
yeah, they're about to open that big shelter in the East Village, which voted overwhelmingly for him, and now they're trying to sue him in court. It's like, hey, this is what you voted for, guys.
You voted
Tim
for it.
Hayes
Yeah.
says, I think Colbert only got anywhere was from him being on The Daily Show. First of all, that's 100% true. But the one thing I'll say is initially they gave him a spin-off, The Colbert Report. And whatever happened on that show, I thought was a lot more pleasant. He had a situation that he was playing like a right-wing character, but what he would do is he'd make himself look like a buffoon, but also make fun of like the left. And you could see it, and you could sort of see jokes about both sides within that character, which is why I think it resonated with people and why people liked him to begin with, because it felt like, and I've always been more of a middle-of-the-road guy. I'm not really affiliated with any party, but wherever you stood, I think you could watch his show initially, and it wasn't this kind of mean-spirited thing. There was enough to watch that you could actually laugh from all different directions at it. That's what made it a little more unique. I had no doubt that in his personal life he was more like a left whatever, but it was done in a way where like it was still possible to make fun of both sides then, and I think that he found an interesting way to do it. Once he went to CBS, though, they said, well, he's no longer going to be doing that kind of thing that he's doing on his own show. Now he's going to be like the new and improved Colbert, or whatever it was, or the real Colbert, or whatever you want to call it, because there he's playing a character. This is the real Colbert. It turns out. Sorry, go on.
No, he did that interview last week where he claimed he didn't want to get political, but his agent made him. Did you read that? It was like all of a sudden he's doing this huge 180. I didn't want to have to be that way, but they made me do it.
Yeah, I don't believe that for a second.
Oh, nobody does, but he actually said that, came out and said that on an interview.
I don't believe a word this guy says. But yeah, I agree. He probably said it, but I still don't agree with him.
Yeah.
As I was saying before, they've ruined late night TV. I mean, the clip from Johnny Carson that's been going around where someone asked him, well, why don't you, make political statements or take a stand? He's like, people are here, I'm paraphrasing, but the great Johnny Carson, I'm here for entertainment to make people laugh so they can, forget what happened during the day and for enjoyment. And you just, as the few times I've, tried to put on any of these hosts, these late night hosts, and you just can't enjoy it. And Kimmel is just so infuriating, and Colbert, and
they're intolerable. They're intolerable. And man, he added in this thing. He added here like Seth Meyers and John Oliver, another two jerk offs that I can't hear anything that they have to say. Sadly, I think that back in the day, again, when they started on The Daily Show, John Oliver from time to time could tell some funny jokes back in the day, but man, he hasn't been funny in ages. Seth Meyers was never really a big fan of his. I always found him kind of annoying, still find him annoying. Jimmy Kimmel, years ago on The Man Show with Adam Carolla, thought it was like all right, also not really my cup of tea. These days, like intolerable. And the only one that if I were him, I wouldn't have even gone on this thing with the 4 is Jimmy Fallon. I would have just stayed out of this because Jimmy Fallon, I don't
why is he there?
Yeah, I mean, I don't especially think that he's the greatest thing that ever happened, but he usually isn't overly political in his shows. So I wouldn't show up to support Colbert here. I would just, mind my own business and let these assholes sit with themselves,
Yeah, if I had to pick one to watch, it would be Fallon if I had to. But
he's very immature and does stupid like beer pong and whatever. But he and charades. That's like his whole show is just beer pong and charades forever and dumb shit. But I will say that like the one thing I'll say about Jimmy Fallon is usually his show starts off. He tells like 3 jokes. One of them may be about Trump. It's a softball joke. He moves on, sits around, does his charade and beer pong, and does stupid shit, and that's it. And I think that in his real life, he's just not very interested in politics, which is why he's never like leaned so heavily into it to begin with. And if I were him, I wouldn't come to this thing because it doesn't help him in any way. It's, if anything, the 5 people that still watch Fallon, maybe like at least 2 of them probably don't want to watch him now because they see him hanging around with these dudes.
Yeah, I want to correct it was the producers of the show, not his agent. Sorry, I got that wrong. I sent you a link to the article. You can look at it later, but like it felt like he was backtracking because now he's going to have to look for work. But now all of a sudden they put this big Viking funeral on for him, and it just makes me want to vomit.
The bottom line is
so oppressed.
He's so oppressed. The guy has like a net worth of $100 million. The last, I don't know how many years, the only person making money from this show is him. The network wasn't making money. The only person that was making money was him. He has like $100 million. I do not feel bad for this guy. This guy can retire tomorrow. He won't have to work. His kids won't have to work. Probably his grandkids won't have to work. I am not worried about this guy. If anything, it's kind of sad that a guy that does such a poor job for so many years has so many people protecting him and paying him like $100 million just so they can like, quote unquote, stick it to the orange man or whatever it is. This is all just weird shit. In a world coming from people that keep telling us how important like consequence culture is, it's kind of strange that a guy that just loses everybody money and makes no money for anybody and takes all the money for himself and then cries about like communism and not liking the orange man, that this guy is somehow like they're all glazing him and doing this farewell tour because he basically got canned. Why are you doing a farewell? Nobody gives a shit. He hasn't made anything. He hasn't done any kind of impact on pop culture. He's a loser.
And the show's going away too. So like as you said, it's not just him. But he killed CBS late night.
No, they're already making money on his replacement show, which is going to be a stand-up comedy like variety hour that they're getting paid to have on there.
I think I saw a commercial for that. Okay, so that could be fun, maybe. Yeah,
Yeah.
put some comedy back in late night. And yeah, it doesn't mean you can't make fun of the president or some political stuff, but you got to go after both sides, and it's just boring and it's so cringy that. And their jokes, they're not even jokes sometimes. It's just going on these screeds when you watch these clips on X as they come by, and they're lying half the time. And they forget, Trump won the popular vote, so you're angry in more than half the country. The famous.
You won the electoral and the popular, actually.
Yeah, both. Yeah. So the famous, quote from Michael Jordan. Why he didn't get into politics? He's like, well, Republicans buy sneakers too. When someone asked
Michael Jordan is a genius. Michael
Yeah.
Jordan is a brilliant genius and a good businessman, and he knows exactly what he's talking about. He was always, you could say whatever you want, but he's a good businessman. And yeah, what were you saying like 1 second before, Jordan? What was it that you were saying?
Byron out the Comics Unleashed show that they're replacing with that's already making money for CBS.
I see.
That did look kind of fun, actually. I got to say.
Yeah, but the guy hosting it is actually paying CBS to host it. So the network's making money. He's going to make money on the advertising, and people are going to have like good late night things to laugh at and wind down with.
Would you go on Kimmel's show if he asked you maybe if the fee was $100,000, would you bring the puppet? For $100,000, I'm there. I'm 100%. You know what? Especially if you ask me if he brings me there and he's not paying me like at all, I would actually go there so I can tell him that I think he's annoying. He would probably then like delete my interview and not air it. For $100,000 though, I don't think that like I'd be allowed to say that he's an idiot. But at the same time, maybe I take the $100,000. Like I would feel very, very. It would be difficult. Like that is a really tough dilemma. Because I really want the $100,000. I'm not going to lie to you. And taking the $100,000 from him feels good as well. But then having to be on his show and not tell him what I think of him, that would be like a difficult thing to do. I guess I would have to pretend to like him, and then take like the $100,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look at the the expectant widow comment that and his wife is the the head writer on that show. It's. I mean, you've gotten into trouble with the past, with this Charlie Kirk statements. Why would you even go there? Why would you be even so stupid?
He's trying to get fired. He wants to be a martyr. If he's just a comedian whose contract runs out, then he retires a nobody. If he gets fired and can be a martyr, people are going to offer him millions on his next project. He's basically sitting there daring Disney to fire him.
Right? Yeah.
That is
show making money for Disney? I mean, the rumor was that show was going to go away too. So.
No, they're losing about 40 to 60 million. That's why the last year they cut his budget. They cut it down to 4 days a week. They took away his band, and they extremely cut the amount of budget he has. And that's the thing with Colbert. I'd say, okay, we're going to cut your salary from 20 million to 1 million and your staff down from 200 people to 50 people because Gutfeld does it with 6 staff. And let's see if we can make a profit with this. But those guys wouldn't re-sign. But the way to do it isn't to fire him or cut the show. The way to do it is to scale down the show commensurate with its ratings. And then if they don't want it, they're happy to walk away voluntarily.
Yeah, because Gutfeld has, comedian, you rotate guests. He's got a standard panel, but he rotates people as comedians on, and it's got to be a cheap show to do. And yeah, he's obviously very political on the show too, but he'll hit back at Republicans too on the show. Not as much, but look at Bill Maher too, right? Of all the, I guess I wouldn't consider that a late night show anymore, but for years I always loved watching Politically Incorrect, and might not agree with all of his takes, but at least he's being honest, and if someone that he likes does something, he's not going to be a shit, or doesn't like something, that maybe someone who aligns with him more politically, he's not going to just shill for him. When you watch all these clips on, you can find them on Twitter or X, when someone's saying something and then, years later they're saying the exact opposite. You look at the, what's happening in the Middle East, you know damn well half of these people or most of these people would just, if depending on who the president was,
Okay,
they would just flip.
I'm just gonna interrupt you, Air, with that geographic location and say,
Oh, I said the wrong location.
Caleb said the price of reason is $100,000.
Yeah.
Why? What geographic location did he say? He said something bad?
I don't want to say it since we're avoiding that geographic location.
I see.
It's like
somewhere
okay.
far away. Yeah, I forget what
it's very dry.
Sometimes I forget what I'm allowed to.
There's a lot of sand
where the Jawas live, but yeah, you know, it's we're in that land, but yeah, it's you know that Fetterman is like what a great senator he turned out to be, because he's honest and he tells it like it is and like he thinks, and he's not scared of anyone. And yeah, might not agree with how he votes all the time, obviously, but he's honest. But so many of these guys are shills, and these guys are just shilling. You know, they're a joke. You know, Trump always makes the joke. You know, if I cured cancer, I would still get in trouble for it. I mean, zero credit for anything. But look what's happening with the reflecting pool right now. They're getting sued over trying to fix the reflecting pool, and Obama spent $34 million, and a month later the thing was filled with sludge and it's looked like crap for you know years. And so Trump is going in and fixing it, and there's a group now suing him because they said it was supposed to be slimy and muck filled. You know, you're ruining it by making it look nice. I mean, it's just insanity with some of these people. Look at the ballroom. It's like we should have a huge nice ballroom that we can have events at the White House and not have to pitch a tent on the lawn. And also for security, you know, security purposes as well. And these people are going crazy, like, oh, Trump's putting in the ballroom. He's only got, what is it going to be, 2 more years left? He's going to be gone in 2 years.
Right,
so
he's never even going to see that ballroom. They're all like just saying all this weird shit. He's doing what he thinks is right there. I mean, you may like it, you may not like it. I'm tired of all these meltdowns over every stupid little thing. Like, I never said that I thought that Trump was the best person on earth. I'm not going to say that, like, you know, sit around. There's no politician that I sit around and think the best of, but he does whatever he does. I don't think he's much different. In terms of like Trump, I think that perhaps the difference between him and a lot of, like, you know, other presidents is he doesn't really have a filter, and he'll say whatever he's thinking, no matter how crazy that something is. Maybe that's not for everybody, and I can understand how that would possibly be like an acquired taste. But at the same time, you know, he does some stuff he'll do that it'll be maybe okay. Some stuff he'll do maybe that I won't think is okay. But at the end of the day, like, he's trying to do something, and, you know, not everything he does is bad. So I kind of just look at it that way. And also, just in general, the way I feel is maybe because I'm not really aligned with any party. If somebody is elected president and that's the president of the United States, I hope that person will do a good job. You know, I don't understand these people that are like, let's root against him so that America will fail. It's like, what are you, an idiot? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not rooting against anybody. I didn't even root against Biden. I don't think he was a good president, but I didn't root against him when they said he was elected. I hoped he wouldn't be bad, you know?
Yeah. No, but that's what drives me nuts when there's basic things that you know, come on, we got to be able to at least agree on a few things here. And that's why, you know, Fetterman is at least, you know, he's on his side. He's like, I'm one of the few people. I'm like, let's, you know, not shut down the government. Let's do the ballroom. Let's do the reflecting pool. You know, you've got to be able to work together.
Yeah, he seems like a really reasonable guy. It's very strange that guy ended up being like the only reasonable guy. I'm sure he has his own beliefs, and they're not all like, you know, there's stuff whatever he believes in, but at least he has the decency to understand that there's certain things that complaining about him is just stupid. And I think that a lot of times, and especially like Democrats these days, really embarrass themselves with a lot of this nonsense. That's just my personal opinion, of course. I don't really know. This is what you sent us to Phobos. Stephen Colbert says he made The Late Show more political after his producer told him that's the part the audience wants to see. No, that's a part that part of the audience wants to see. Maybe, probably not enough to sustain your show. And the general public, which you were supposed to entertain, doesn't want that. people see like CNN and they see stuff about Trump 24/7. Do they really want to go to like something that was once a staple in late night television, filled with like comedy and comedians and things like that, and just get lectured to from one very political side about all these like agendas? I don't think anybody wants that.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I want to laugh at late night and have some fun and yeah, make fun of everyone, right? And you don't get that when it's just one way, and that's being reflected. That's been reflected by the audience dropping, right? If Colbert was making a ton of money for the network, he ain't going anywhere. And bottom line, all these networks, they want to make money. They're in business to sell advertising. And yes, the TV, the linear TV audience is shrinking, but you're still in far more places than you are in cable or streaming. So it is an embarrassment when you look at some of these numbers that some of these networks get, and you're like, wait a minute, how is this working? When you have some YouTube shows. Remember when we did the coverage of Starfleet Academy, and there was the Spock Nerdrotic put up Spock in the chair, got more concurrent viewers than Starfleet Academy. It's just
Even the stream that we were on that we did,
yeah.
did rather decently. Not, of course, not as good as Gary's Spock on the chair. Although, within 24 hours of uploading that video, we already had around 5,000 people watching, that watched it, which I think is very impressive. It's
It
very
was, yeah.
impressive for this channel. You know what I mean? It depends on what I have a few channels, but on the live stream channel, it was rather an impressive number. On Rumble, of course, we have significantly higher numbers. Even on my other channel that does the reviews, we have good numbers. But bottom line is, 5,000 was very impressive. That people would see us hanging out and watching that stupid episode.
Yeah, no, that was an impressive show numbers. Yeah, it was fun to be on that, to talk
This
about
is
that
like
disaster with the chicken man, right?
right. NMNM says this is like Simpcast. This, I don't think it is. I don't really watch that show, but I don't really think that this is like that. First of all, I think that show usually has ladies on it, and we are 100% not that.
Yeah.
So, in fact, like with
How
this
does your puppet
Phobos gear,
identify?
what'd you say?
How does the puppet identify?
I think that we all identify as males in this
Okay,
thing.
just
It's the
checking.
Phobos
You
is-
never know.
It's the Phobos is so inappropriate that it's almost like having an additional male, like two males.
Testosterone is flowing everywhere.
Right. Like you always
Look at
have
that,
to just
Teddy
stop
bear with
him
a
before.
cigar with and that's definitely not decaf coffee in there. Smoking. I mean, come on, you got to a lot of testosterone with that teddy bear. Yep, I can tell. Yep.
Well,
Teddy Roosevelt would be happy.
I think that we did a good show here, and if there's a way, I don't know, the professor usually does this, where like I can say bye to people. I can do the Rumble side, I think. We have Double R Star, Dude Brosef, Loyish. We have Darren Mai. We have Gaming Stuff, who's also a member. Noel 2024, Dude Brosef, I said. Darren Mai said. We have Born to Be Down, and Born to Be Down gave a $5 Rumble rant. Thank you for that. We have I didn't see Elizabeth Quince today. Hopefully she'll still hear the show.
Yeah, she'll play it on the re-rub.
She probably will.
I have a list for YouTube, but I just crashed like 5 minutes ago, but I still have some.
Oh, I have the whole list then if you want.
Oh,
me to read
okay.
it.
Oh,
Go
go
for it,
ahead,
yeah.
Mark. You do it.
I have 30. Yeah, I have 37 people. And if I screw up the pronunciation, it's late. Piku, Fishbulb 6, The Elite. Let me zoom out here so I can see it. Marla Churin, Scribelight, Jason Love,
Marla Sharondoff. She's a
Sharondoff,
friend of
thank
the
you.
channel.
There you just said, yeah, see, I screwed up. Yep. Corbin Griner, Echo 32, Angry Sparrow, Captain Palsy, John Davidson, The Real Dragon, Rogue's Backstory, Dr. Janelle Kraus, Mark D with a C, who led him on this show, E. Clay, Jonathan Conroy, Georgius Rex, Jerner, that's a Jean Jr. Oh God, 5. Sorry, Keely Child, Trev Toonart, Murrock Stroh, Professor R2, Yidris, Lord Kari, Gavin Unit, Tomahawk 511, Cabe Levine, Tim Hayes, Kodo Rob, Darren M, Lord Skywalker, and that guy Istaphobos. Wow. Real Head Case, Kingdom, and the Dead Man number one fan. Yep. So sorry about butchering some of those names, but thank you for all you guys for being here tonight.
Thank you. If we missed anybody, I'm sorry. It was just, like I said, Professor is usually more organized with all the names. We did the best we could. And if we missed you, we'll definitely, say your name next time we make a point of doing that. But today we did the best we can under the circumstances. I also want to thank everybody that sent the super chats and the Rumble rants and all that kind of stuff. It's always really a pleasure. Before we go, also, if you haven't, if you're watching on Rumble, which is our headquarters for this show, and you haven't yet signed up for Rumble, because some people just watch on an app and don't even sign up, it's really important that you sign up if you want to support free speech. And if you're going to do that, you should also maybe take a second to follow us, because then when we do streams, you'll know when that was your dream, right? And then I'm such an asshole. In any case, what was the other thing? No, some people may have been their dream to hear, Istaphobos talking at 2 a.m.
It's not even Istaphobos' dream to hear himself talking at 2 a.m.
How about snoring? How about Istaphobos? How much you pay to have Istaphobos snore?
I don't snore anymore because
you put those strips on your nose.
No. You know that thing that hangs from the back of your throat in cartoons?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't have one of those. So.
Not 100% sure what's going on here, but I'll accept your explanation.
Well, he's a teddy bear, so yeah.
I have no uvula. That's what it's called. I knew what it was going to be called, but I didn't want you to mistake it for something dirty and give me shit about it. So you'd be like, of course you don't have a uvula. You're a man. And that's not what that is.
I see. Okay, good to know. How did we get to talking about this? What were we? Where were we?
I don't know, but Mark's seriously amused at that, and that's making me laugh.
Well, I'm happy that Mark is amused as well. I guess I was saying that if you haven't yet signed up for Rumble, you should do that, and then follow us, and then you always know when we're streaming, because that's very important. And then if you're on any other platform, you should also subscribe and like and leave comments and do all that good stuff just to help the stream move along. So you should do all of that stuff. Super helpful. And of course, all the people with the super chats, I'm going to see if I can quickly find them, or maybe it's too late. I know there was a Dead Man. I know there was the Real Head Case that did. Trying to think what else. Okay, I'm going to find them. So there was Kingdom. There was the Dead Man. There was the Real Head Case. We gave a bunch of super chats, which was really appreciated. And Murrockstra, member for 20 months, also greatly appreciated. So I guess on that very positive note, we can sort of say goodbye to people. And before we go, definitely subscribe to Mark D with a C. He has a YouTube channel, and he also has a channel on Rumble. So if you're watching on YouTube, you should subscribe to him on YouTube. If you're watching on Rumble, subscribe to him on Rumble. And Istaphobos has an X account, and you should follow him there if you haven't done that already. And I guess that's, unless you guys have something to plug or say or anything you have to do, I think we can sign off.
Well, thank you for having me tonight, and yeah, appreciate any of the subs. So thank you. Great hanging with you guys. Yep.
Great hanging with you guys. Thank you, Mark D with a C. Thank you, Istaphobos. I appreciate you guys, and especially today, because the professor, was, like I said, caught up in something, and these guys stepped in immediately, and it was very, very nice of them. They are VIP friends of the channels, but even then, I don't take that for granted. So thanks, guys.
You're welcome. Yep.
Great fun. Anytime, man.
All right. Bye. Oh no, it failed. It won't let me stop the stream.
Really?
Have fun storming the castle.
Wait, hold on. I'm going to go back and
Let's see.